Chapter 211, Calculation that goes amiss. Calculation that goes amiss. Kazarim has not noticed that he has thoroughly stepped onto a landmine. Now that he has attained power and significant growth, the thought that the Majin before Kazarim was a being greater than himself never crossed his mind, not even till the very end. Footman was lightly slugged by Benimaru, and he was launched all the way to the end of the hall. And he lay there not moving one bit. Footman, stop playing games. We're gonna massacre all of them. Get up quickly, and get on with killing Leon's weakling followers. Even though Kazarim gave him orders, Footman showed no sign of moving. Oi, Footman. What are you playing at? Hurry up and... Kazarim went and had a look at Footman in a fit of anger, only to lose all words shortly after. Footman lay sprawled on the ground showing the white of his eyes along with a bleeding nose, as though the entire ruckus he has been causing was but a lie. After crashing through a wall and bouncing a few times, his neck was twisted in an impossible angle. Both his upper and lower front teeth were broken. It is no coincidence that the teeth caved in the shape of a fist. Some sections of space were fixed too, making said sections unable to regenerate. Turning his attention to Benimaru, Kazarim clicked his tongue in another fit of anger. In the hall, which turned silent in an instant, one being fleetingly approached Footman. It was Laplace. He walked as he ignored Claude and Fran, who assumed wary stances with their swords. Laplace stopped beside Footman. And... Nay-san, this looks bad. Our boy Footman is down and out from the blow. Well, he is barely alive though, that Nii-san their probs had nay intention of killing him. Laplace said with a oh well kind of tone, as he lightly shrugged his shoulders. What's that? You mean to say Footman was taken out in one hit? Tear the Teardrop shouted out in surprise. Hearing that her fellow brethren, who was easily tougher than herself, was downed in a single attack, was a way too unreal topic. Tear, this ain't good. Fall back. It's not a good idea to take those Nii-sans lightly. From my perspective, ya ain't gonna cut it. It would most likely take me and our captain, to be able to deal with them somehow. There's also that pretty demon Juchan with Demon Lord Leon, odds are stacked against us now. What's the plan, Nay-san? With an easygoing tone, Laplace gave Kazarim his analysis of the current situation. He was hinting at, if we're gonna retreat, now would be the time. Kazarim snorts. Laplace, no need to cower that much. Leon is already in tatters. Guy's minion too, is at most a Demon Lord class weakling. Sure, demon nobles are pretty capable among the upper tier demons, but she ain't any better than Tyr, who is Demon Lord class herself. We only need to be wary of those two. You and me are more than enough to deal with them. He impertinently declares. To his unshaken confidence, Laplace has nothing more to say, and simply shrugs. Kazarim was totally ignoring the fact that Footman, who was Demon Lord class himself, was out of commission from a single attack. Kazarim thought, the one he needed to be wary of was only Benimaru, who stands before him, and he can let Laplace deal with the inferior Sui. The truth was, it is a fact that we haven't even showed what we are really capable of. Laplace affirms Kazarim's words. As per Kazarim's orders to overwhelm Leon's forces, it's a fact that they have been slowly bashing down on them. But Laplace was still considering retreating, even after taking all that into account. Laplace's intuition sensitively picked up the changes in the situation, and was sounding a warning alarm. As if to prove Laplace's intuition was true, Misery coolly stood back up. All the damage she took earlier, regenerated in an instant. All her external injuries disappeared, and her new outfit looked more dreadful than before. Gaining an impressive presence, she stays as expressionless as before, but gives off an imposing feeling. Nay-san, that Juchan's existential values have rocketed up. They're called Awakened Demon Lord's Eye. Though she is inferior to Nay-san, Tyr ain't able to handle that. Just as Laplace analyzed it, Misery's energy levels swelled up to the level of an Awakened Demon Lord. More like, her magic power that has been restrained up till now have been released, that kind of feeling. That's right. I, with the help of Demon Lord Rimuru, have evolved to the level of the Awakened Demon Lords. With the impression that real battle experience would help me master this power most effectively, I took the liberty of having Kazarime-sama as my practice opponent. That being said, it looks like Leon-sama did notice the fact that I have been holding back. Mizuri took glances at Leon as she said that. Leon nods with a bitter-looking face. Of course I did. As if a measly demon noble could maintain a barrier powerful enough to withstand my attacks. How would I not notice that you were restraining your output and planning to do something? Who would have thought that your plan was to depend on the reinforcements from Demon Lord Rimuru? So, does Guy really trust Rimuru? Does he think he is the key to ending this battle? About that. It's not like considerations from someone like me would affect Guy-sama's intentions, but personally, I have come to the conclusion that believing Demon Lord Rimuru is the correct course of action. That was what was decided at Walpurgis II. To Leon's question, Mizuri stuttered for a moment, before she answered. Though her answer was the truth, Leon felt he was pressured by those words, as he never did fully trust Rimuru even though they talked of cooperation. At the same time, Mizuri, who is a demon, couldn't hide her own surprise at herself for speaking of trusting any demon lord other than Guy. As one of the few absolute beings that were crowned in ages past, Mizuri was one of the capable few who surpassed the ex-demon lords. As she understood her own true nature, she felt the surprise excessively. Mizuri never broke her courteous tone towards any other person, but turns into a cold-hearted slaughterer the moment she is given orders. That was her identity, as the great demon who heads Guy's minions. So, the number of weaklings have increased, and one of you insects got a little power up. Did you really think you could stand up against me? No doubt Leon over there is mostly half dead. Even if Mizuri there did get a boost in power, she's not even close to half of me. I don't see where the problem is. With a fearless smile, Kazarime cuts into Leon and Mizuri's conversation. To Kazarime, he is already looking down on his opponent as an awakened demon lord who is inferior to himself. With a cold gaze towards Kazarime. Then, allow me to give an additional explanation. A normal demon lord class being has EP 200,000,400,000,000, and that's the lowest to the highest. Similarly, a demon noble is EP 200,000,400,000,002, and that is distinguished by the Baron to the Duke classes. Certainly, Leon-sama's followers have evolved and attained power, but they sit at the Viscount class of EP, below 250,000 at most. Kazarime-sama's fellow brethren too, with the exception of Laplace, are at the higher end of the Demon Lord class at EP, below 400,000. Neither are even remotely close to be called beings that have power surpassing Demon Lords. The Demon Lords of the current octagram, with the exception of one person, are all of the million class at EP 1,000,000,000. From what I have just mentioned, the phrase, surpassing a Demon Lord, is quite the excessive term. Now then, with all of that in mind, and though this might sound rude, the battle between Leon-sama's followers and the members of the moderate clown troupe is not but child's play. I have come to the conclusion that it is at a level that can be ignored. The order I have received from Guy-sama is to obtain victory. To that end, I have maintained this barrier and awaited the reinforcements from Demon Lord Rimuru-sama. This was the best course of action I have taken in order to decisively defeat Kazarime-sama, a plan that ignores everything besides the million class. So, that meant that Kazarime-sama's victory condition would be to defeat me before reinforcements arrived, that and nothing else. From my analysis as I bought time earlier, the main ability that Kazarime-sama uses is auto-reflection. You stack damage onto your opponent, by neutralizing your opponent's attack with the same attack with a roughly 20% increase in output. If this was done by a being that had overwhelming amounts of energy, it would be an incredibly efficient method. It's also troublesome that you wield both holy and demonic attributes. As long as you have more energy, you most likely will never be defeated. But, for you to continue neutralizing attacks, it means you have no other choice but to consume energy. The 20% increase in consumption seems to apply equally, whether it is one of Leon-sama's attacks, or one of my held-back attacks. The reasoning behind waiting for reinforcements, would it be clearer to say that my aim was to gather enough power to overwhelm what Kazarime-sama can neutralize? Leon-sama along with Benimaru-sama and Sui-sama would most likely be able to deal with Kazarime-sama, after some depletion from having to face me at full power. Victory is ours this time, Kazarim-sama. 2. Hey, Aju-chan. What do ya mean by, with the exception of me? Not to be rude, but I was unable to discern how much energy you have. That means, you are either equal to or above me, that is my conclusion. Ya give me too much credit. Thinning his eyes 3, Laplace gave off a sharp gaze unbefitting of his casual attitude. Towards Misery, who did not underestimate him, he gave a good grief for impression. Sui showed a bitter face as his true identity was revealed by someone else, but did not voice his complaint. The group of people who were tossed aside in this conversation, namely Leon's knights Claude and Co and Tyr, were unable to voice their words of rejection in the face of Misery's aura. Because they understood what was said were undeniable facts. But, even after hearing Misery's explanation and feeling her aura, Kazarim's composure was not broken at all. Phew fun. I knew all along, that you were hiding your true power. Don't be giving such arrogant speeches, being a weakling who cannot fight without resorting to such stopgap measures. Even if all you worms came at me together, you still wouldn't come close to the great me. The fact that none of you can beat me doesn't change. Let me show you weaklings, what real despair and fear is. As he shouted, he released all the power he has held back that stopped him from outright killing Leon. In addition to the pressure that distorted space within the barrier, an ominous aura now dominated the field. The aura Misery was releasing, was quashed in an instant. By an overwhelming energy, one which could be said to surpass awakened demon lords. There were no lies in Kazarim's words, as the storm of his tyranny vastly exceeds Misery's calculations. Wadash! It can't be. To think, he had that much. What just happened was effective enough to cause the composed Misery to waver, and Misery's expression changed. Kazarim was overwhelming, so overwhelming that she couldn't keep her composure. She herself had energy in the million class. Leon too. Even so, she still felt so overwhelmed by Kazarim. The estimate that there is almost 3 times the amount of energy that she just told Leon earlier, felt like an understatement. This is more than what was anticipated. I had estimated it to be 3 times or more than me, but this. A blow from Kazarim made its way to Misery's abdomen, to interrupt their conversation. Kazarim's fist pierced through Misery, breaking her arms which she crossed to protect herself, as though crushing fragile rotten twigs. Haha. Aren't you misunderstanding something, just because I have been holding back on killing you? That's just naive, you weakly beings. This Kazarim-sama, have gained the greatest power ever. Kazarim laughs boisterously. Nay-san, that's some absurd stuff ya are pulling out there. Fine by me, guess I'll need to prepare for worst too. He took a rainbow orb out, as he said that. That was a spirit jewel. It was an orb that housed energy equal to the souls of 10,000 humans. Laplace breaks the orb, and replenishes his energy. This didn't cause him to awaken, he did it to prepare himself to fully support Kazarim. You lot have been sneakily thinking of many things, but all of it was for naught. After all, this is but the fate of beings that do not wield enough power. Kazarim laughs haughtily. Lamenting, Misery says. At this rate, accomplishing my orders would be. My apologies, looks like my outlook was too naive. At the least, I will attempt to cause mutual destruction with an extreme anti-demon elimination attack, do take care of matters afterward. Putting her existence in the line, to shave off as much of Kazarim's power as possible. Leaving future matters to Leon and Benimaru and Co. Those were Misery's intentions. But. You recalled Misery, right? Like what that Drag 5 said, no need to overthink things too much. You called for reinforcements, we answered the call and made it in time. That's all that matters, right? Walking past beside of Misery who was knocked down, Benimaru took the point. And? Sui, you deal with the clown over there. I'll be the one to kill that drag. He indifferently declares, paying no heed to the situation whatsoever. I guess I can accept that. I'll give in, but be sure to finish the job. He did insult Rimuru-sama nonetheless. Don't you worry about that. It's not like there's any worthwhile information to obtain, so there's no reason to let him live, am I right? True that. You being you, you may have forgotten about this, but seems like that fellow is Clayman's master. That means. So he's the source who was behind that Gelmudo guy, right? I know that all right. Benimaru and Sui went on with their seemingly frivolous conversation in such a manner. Jay, just what are you people talking about? Hey, you two over there, are you meaning to say, you are gonna take on that monster Kazarim all by yourself? Misery and Leon spoke out at the same time. Misery hastily regenerates and returns to the front lines in combat form, showing her stance to take on the challenge once more. Leon does so too, with his pride as a demon lord on the line, in an effort to return the favor against Kazarim. Despite that, Benimaru and Sui were talking with the intention to do this themselves. Aeon. I just said it, didn't I? I'm going to kill. Starting now I'll be wiping the floor with that shitty drag, you injured fellows just sit back and watch. You heard him. I'll be dealing with the clown over there. Leon Dono and Misery Dono, I'll be trusting you two to keep a lookout for the half-dead fatty, and to make sure that Teardrop Girl doesn't bother us. But. Enough. You two won't understand unless I tell you that you are only going to hold us back. This last line from Benimaru sealed the deal. Ignoring Sui's, you really should fix how you speak to others, Benimaru draws his blade. One of Kurobi's greatest works, with a fully crimson blade, it was Benimaru's personal katana Gurin. Having been reforged countless times, the original steel used to forge the katana has become something else altogether. This katana, which Benimaru wields as though it is a part of himself, has become a Wazamano 6, which is comparable to God's class weapons. Benimaru's thoroughly refined aura thinly wraps around the katana's blade, which resulted in the crimson blade getting an exquisitely decorated gleam. Kazarim laughs. He, weakling. Can't do anything without a weapon? Fine with me. I'm willing to bet that dull thing ain't going to do much of anything to me. Fun 7. 1 instance. Benimaru's body blurred with a red flash. Leaving behind a flash of light in that moment, Benimaru appears behind Kazarim. At the time every other person noticed he has moved, the blurred body disappears. Hup, you can have this back. Try not to drop it next time. Benimaru throws something at Kazarim as he said that. It was an arm. The arm of a woman from the elbow onward. Gyaini. Kazarim lets out a scream. He has finally noticed that his arm was cut off. Why you bastard? Why is there pain? Kazarim tosses the question at Benimaru. It's kind of dumb to ask your enemy about such things, but it looks like he's not accepting what just happened. For Kazarim, who is a spiritual entity, feeling pain shouldn't be something relevant to him. TCH. Are you really that dumb? I'll tell you, since you look like you still don't understand, pain is a warning signal. It works the same way even for spiritual entities. Your body felt something dangerous, so it is sounding an alarm. You should properly control that kinda stuff before getting into a battle. Benimaru gave a detailed explanation as though mocking Kazarim. In fact, during the time when he trained with Diablo in the labyrinth, he got the same explanation after something similar happened. Benimaru has of his own accord accepted that as Diablo's way of getting back at him, after his loss against Benimaru in the tournament. But, that is something unrelated to what is happening now. It's definitely not because he was upset that it happened to him too, and is venting his frustration. Huh? Warning signal? What bullshit is that? As if the awesome me would feel danger from you. Kazarim turns the arm into energy and absorbs it, then regenerates his arm from the elbow out. He has long forgotten about his declaration, the one where he said Benimaru won't be able to harm him in any way. Death. I shall definitely bring death unto you. As he shouted, Kazarim turns into an ultra-dense mass of energy, as he assaults Benimaru. Benimaru receives the attack, and similarly he himself turns into a flaming mass of energy 8. Thus, a battle between beings who have surpassed mortal limits begins. 1 existential values equals energy BTW in this world. 2 sushi, like WTF, this is the longest amount of dialogue from one person I have seen yet. 3 sushi, think Hichimaru-jin from Bleach. 4 sushi, Google yatter yatter lol. 5 okama equals transvestite. 6 Wazamano means the swords which cut well, sharp swords. 7 Sushi, this is Benimaru breathing out. 8 Guro, Benimaru is Logia user. XD. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 212, Foolish Kazarim. Foolish Kazarim. Sui and Laplace squared off against each other, grasping for each other's openings. They fell into a deadlock after several bouts of offense and defense in the blink of an eye. All of Laplace's unseen knives that were thrown towards Sui in the beginning had pierced Sui's body. Laplace thought that he had killed Sui with his surprise attack, but it was no more than a parallel existence that Sui had created. Sui is being cautious. Against the enemy that he seen for the first time, he must not act like challenging him carelessly. Regardless of whether or not he will lose or win and whether or not the enemy is superior or inferior, Sui didn't let his guard down. Is this how you fight? With such strength, even if you fight fair and square you would be quite good. Ha ha ha, I'll receive praise, but I think I just want to enjoy and win. Still. You're very troublesome, and I-san won. Even though I act because I could see a certain vision of I killing T was just an imitation. Just like what my intuition says, to withdraw is correct answer. Laplace prepared several knives in his hand while shaking his head in disappointment. And, from his mouth comes an enjoying smile. Just like his title as Wonder Clown, Laplace is enjoying fighting as something to live for. He pursued the presence of the Sui's main body while killing all of the created mirror images. He analyzed the magic power wave that Sui releases and might be said that he memorized it. Oh, how skillful. Carelessly intercepting it is difficult. One of the clones exploded at the same time as it repelled Laplace's knife. It seemed to be a bomb which disguised as a knife. And in addition to that, it's spirit bomb. Having all of 7 attributes, it's an object that contains the omnipotent attribute to counter the demonic and the holy attributes. Since Neisan's attribute is omnipotent attribute, I have received a bit it. To be frank, isn't it impossible for Ye to defeat Neisan who have both demonic and holy attribute? Although that Neisan is also extremely dangerous, but it will be less embarrassing if Ye just be obedient, no. Do you really think so? Well, I guess Sae? Well, I will only force Ye to stay here. I don't know whether there's a lot of real body or fake ones, maybe it's all real. A clone user is really troublesome. You see, even when I don't know real body, if I surround Ye spirit bomb, even you'd not be able to do anything rigged. All of the knives have been already camouflaged by Laplace's unique skill deceiver. Or rather, only his word is feigned, all of the knives are spirit bomb. Without hesitation, he intended to kill Sui. Fu. Surround me, you say? Such thing will be not significant if I can transfer. While Sui says so, he transfers with space control. That's all according to Laplace's plan. Ha 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 ha. Nei-san, don't seem to be careful. The spirit bombs had been configured to chain explode due to dimensional vibration. It flows all at once into distorted space transfer series skill and explode inside it. If Ye receive that explosion, this side will get entangled too and receive damage, so T was fearful no. Well, cause your defeat is that Ye didn't notice ma puppet strings which had wrapped Ye around. Laplace wraps the knife with his puppet strings and let it twined around Sui. Not only just that, he linked the knife with the other knives, which were flying nearby, and set it to react to the movement of the other clones. Hypothetically, if Sui didn't use his transfer ability, there would be no problem even if Sui come charging while ignoring the spirit bombs. Because even if most of this audience hall got blown away, it would be easy to retrieve his comrade that is Tier and Footman and to escape. Laplace fiddled with the timing of the explosion as it was not a problem for him. After all, with his unique skill seer, he could see it clearly Sui's figure being swallowed up by the explosion. Without hesitation, Laplace begun his attack with conviction that he could surely kill Sui. Laplace laughs loudly, pleased that his plan would end well. Sorry, it's a bad place for you to be pleased so much, but let's end this soon. Laplace heard a cold voice from his back. And then, he cannot hide his surprise as a straight sword too stuck out from his chest. Laplace can't understand what happened. This can't be. Could do nothing but to speak such stupid word. It was simple when the truth was revealed. Sui from the beginning concealed his main body in the darkness. It was not his main body which was surrounded by the bombs, it was only one of his parallel existence. He calculated the position of Leon's castle with Eye of the Moon of his ultimate gift Shadow Moon 3 Lord Tsukuyomi and carried out a direct transfer to the inside of the barrier. And then, he concealed his main body with Shadow using law manipulation, Shadow, and launch a surprise attack with the effect of one-hit kill. Without any sign of naivete like Benimaru, that's Sui's way of fighting. But, geez. I never think that my younger brother would get so easily killed like this. Younger brother, you say? Mew. In response of the bloodthirst, Sui jumped aside from that spot. With the eyes which foresee everything, he sensed a danger simultaneously with an uncomfortable feeling. At the same time, the knife which stuck in Laplace's corpse was scattered by the explosion of the body. If his evasion was a bit late, Sui would rolled up in the explosion and would not come out unharmed. Just kidding. Did ye really think that I have a younger brother? To tell you truth, I have a similar ability as ye too. The truth is, just like you I had thought today a surprise attack, but that won't be good, hence I reveal myself. Well, it's been a while. For ma clone to be killed. Laplace spouts lies brazenly while preparing his surprise attack. He narrows his eyes and smiles. His behavior of making fool of someone is just like him, a hedonist. Marionette Master Clayman. Laplace is Clayman's master. He made a magic doll which modeled after himself and manipulated it with automatic operation. And, his target. Well then, it's been a long time since I rampaging seriously. For underestimating me, I'll show ye a painful experience. It's time for ye to be prepared. It's you who need to be prepared. You need to stop the foolish delusions such as you defeating me, and you should immediately return to the darkness. And the two people fought each other and their fight reached a deadlock. Benimaru and Kazarim had broken through the barrier which Mayazuri had set up and also the city barrier, the two were now having a battle airspace high above. Kazarim begins to violently attacking Benimaru taking the advantage of his enormous energy. The fight between a fellow spiritual life form could be said as a struggle to investigate the enemy's energy. One would win if they deprived the enemy of their power and decreased their existence power. His ultimate skill was means for that. Kazarim made Benimaru consume his energy by effectively releasing his ability. No. He was under impression that he did so. Well, how's it? You can't counterattack? What happened with your condescending attitude from before? Kazarim, who rely fully on his power, concentrated his energy to his fists and hits Benimaru repeatedly. For Kazarim, who been optimized by his ultimate skill Dominion Lord Melchizedek, he was convinced that the octagram won't be his opponent. In fact, even Leon would be just like a baby in front of Kazarim. He was able to see that Misery, who had been preaching before, was a worthless existence who could only receive a single blow from him. That's right. In front of his ultimate optimization called Holy Demonic Unification, which integrated the power of demon and angel, holy and demonic, he was confident that there was no angel nor demon that could be his equal. Kazarim thought that there was no reason for him to lose if himself was above in both quantity and the quality of the energy. In fact, he succeeded in offsetting Leon's holy strike and even Misery's demon power equally in adding a counter-attack. Even if Kazarim does nothing, his enemies would destroy themselves on their own. It was the counter-lapse that Kazarim had devised. Of course he activated it when he was attacked. He let the damage accumulate by offsetting the attack while depriving the enemy's energy by crashing his energy. He won't lose unless his enemy surpasses his energy, it was an ability that ensures certain victory. And, as one of the four fiends of the heavenly commanders who have the strongest power, Kazarim thought that there was no other existence that's more superior than himself. What happened? Are you unable to do anything when I get serious? When you realized about my power, it has already be too late, you see. What a fool. If you didn't obstruct me, you would have be able to live a little longer. I want to see Leon's crying face without any delay, so I will kill you soon. Kazarim was about to finish off Benimaru while laughing evilly. Kazarim was merry because of his strength and ability. He was completely convinced that no one can oppose him. Certainly that it's a strong ability, it might be not weird for Kazarim to think so. However, it could be said that it was a too foolish act. Kazarim was convinced that his ability is the strongest and doesn't have weakness. Therefore, he was too overconfident with his ability. That's why, he didn't notice. His attacks didn't do any damage to Benimaru. Ora. How's that? Moreover, Kazarim was getting carried away. Shut up. The fist that Benimaru threw hit Kazarim's face. Byoboa. Just with that one blow, it had robbed most of Kazarim's consciousness. Byoba, gah. Kazarim turned his gaze to Benimaru with his eyes opened wide in astonishment. While looking like he's pitying Kazarim, Benimaru pointed out the reality. Your attacks doesn't work against me at all, you see. So he said. Kazarim couldn't understand the meaning behind Benimaru's word. That might be so. Kazarim was conceited that he had obtained the strongest power, because until just now, he had stood as the strongest. And yet, that there is an enemy whom his attacks wouldn't work against is something that he would never deem as possible. Don't be joking. Wah, what a stupid thing to say. Is that so? I understood. It's a bluff, you must be bluffing. Ha, what a shrewd guy. I won't get deceived by such foolish lie. He unreasonably interpret the fact on his own. Then, he condensed his energy with the maximum output in both his hands, and took a stance toward Benimaru. Yuri finished. Even if I fall into your tricks, you would be hopeless in front of my absolute power. How unfortunate. A fool won't understand it. Grinning and sprouting a smile, Kazarim regained his composure and felt the reliable power in both of his hands. Well then, goodbye. If you want to resent your own powerlessness. Arc depression, ruler's melancholy. What he had shot out was a dreadful energy wave that could be called as holy demonic wave cannon, which would rapidly exhaust the target's energy. Even with speed surpassing dozens of times the speed of sound, it might be impossible to avoid it, and that sure kill wave was rushing towards Benimaru. But, there was no change in Benimaru's expression. With his cherished katana Gurren in his hand, he calmly took a stance. Do you know? Speed is power. In other words, swinging his beloved katana, Benimaru warded off Kazarim's sure kill attack and nullified it with his rebirth flame. He could have counterattacked, but he deliberately held back. Because he was going to kill Kazarim with the next attack. Ha! Kazarim, who opened his eyes wide to their limits, was astonished. He witnessed an impossible spectacle in front of his eyes and his mind can't catch up with it. Well, such a dull attack of yours can't reach me, you know. In other words, it means that your attack can't affect me. There's one thing I can praise you for, you were certainly superior than me only in the total amount of power. But, if it's about the quality, I'm overwhelming superior than you. Just that. Can you understand it? Then, die. Prominence acceleration. Kazarim's movement stopped as he was too astonished and had entered a panic state, received Benimaru's special attack. The black sunlight, which took the shape of an oriental dragon, swallowed half of Kazarim's body while moving as if it has its own will. The quality was exactly like Benimaru had stated, the nature of the released energy was so terrifying, like a tyrant. The reason was because the nihility energy that his adored and respected master, the great demon lord Rimuru, has. Some of Rimuru's subordinates had approached to the nihility nature of Rimuru through the soul's corridor. Therefore, it wasn't weird for Benimaru to offsetting Kazarim's attack, which had the holy and demonic attributes. It was blocked by Benimaru's energy, which superior in quality, and the attack was nullified. Although it can't be compared with Rimuru the originator, as the original was moving in super high speed and had enhanced energy, it was still a finishing move. In all aspects, it may be said that Benimaru was skillful. TCH. I still can't control it perfectly yet. Benimaru grumbled. Although he had no complaint about the power, the accuracy didn't go as he wanted. The technique was a technique in which Rimuru instructed Benimaru to imitate cardinal acceleration, which was the ultimate attack of the Scorched Dragonville grind. Unlike Vulgrind, who was a high-density spiritual life form by nature, it was still premature for Benimaru to master it, seeing that he had just finished evolving. But Benimaru's ability was the ultimate skill Blazing Sun for Lord Amaterasu, with light and heat control, acceleration, as the ability's crux. There were still a lot of things which he could learn from Vulgrind's ability. Or rather, it's just my guess, but I think I inherited the ability that Rimuru-sama acquired from Vulgrind-sama. Benimaru comprehended. And Zijin, Ranga, and the other, might have inherited the ability from Feldera-sama. As for Diablo, that guy seemed to inherit a direct ability from Rimuru-sama. So, he remembered the opponent he engaged in desperate struggles inside the labyrinth for many times. Using the labyrinth characteristic where they can't die, Benimaru and Diablo had performed real combat trainings over and over again. The result was his complete defeat on every match. Aside from places the public can watch such as the tournament, Diablo never holds back against his opponent. Although it's good that I had a glimpse of the end of his strength, that fellow, I'll beat him someday. Kyu-fyu-fyu-fyu-fyu. Benimaru felt a bit unpleasant as he remembered Diablo's loud laugh. Benimaru knew about it, but recently Diablo seemed to be considerably feigning ignorance in front of Rimuru. However, if it might be said that, on the contrary, it could thought that he was close with Diablo, that he could saw his hidden true self. While forcibly making himself agreed to it, Benimaru moved his gaze to Kazarim, who fell down and went towards him to deliver the final blow. 1. Not the brother meaning but for young man, laddie. 2. Chokuto lit. Straight sword. They're straight Japanese blade which were used before the invention of Tachi. Tachi have curve while Chokuta didn't. 3. When the kanji translated separately it becomes moon shadow / shadow moon. When the kanji is combined it literally translated as moonlight, moonbeams, moon. 4. Separately sun flame / blazing sun. Combined heat haze, kajiro. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 213, Unjust Ending. Unjust Ending. A knife glitters, and the straight sword repels it. An intense offense and defense were unrolled since a while. Each of them made their feints and schemes in order to advance in the fight advantageously. High-level psychological warfare was carried out. While Sui and Laplace were fighting, their fight was interrupted as Kazarim has fallen while being completely scorching together with a roaring sound. By the impact from when Kazarim was flung against it, the hall floor split open and the fragments scatter around. As proof that Kazarim's body was burnt with high temperature, the marble which covered the floor began to melt. Naturally, Kazarim was not unharmed. Half of his body was burnt by fire. It became a terrible sight that normally no one would think that he's alive. But Kazarim was alive even in such condition. Ah, Nay-san. Laplace was surprised and ran toward Kazarim in a hurry. In such panic as no one would imagine from his arrogant attitude. Even Leon and Co, who were treating their injury while watching the fight of Sui and Laplace, have their movement stopped as they seen the terrible sight of Kazarim. Everyone was able to understand from the mere sight of his appearance. Benimaru won, and Kazarim's life begun to exhausted. Spiritual life forms were the people who stood at the top of this world with their tenacious vitality. However, from the moment their mind was broken in acknowledging one's defeat, their vitality, equals energy, quickly decreases and leads to their death. Kazarim's situation was exactly that. Everyone can see his defeat with their eyes. His energy started to decrease very fast. Sui didn't stop paying attention to Laplace while being cautious. He didn't think that it was a ruse. If it was a scheme, he judged that it would be dangerous to move carelessly. Comparing both of them, Laplace and Sui were almost equal. He would get defeated when he shown a fatal mistake. He was able to understand it from the bout he had a little while ago. Sui watched Laplace's behavior carefully. Benimaru landed without a sound from the sky next to them. Did you end it? But, aren't you overdoing it a little? No, his energy exceeded mine. There's no reason to go easy on him. If I didn't finish it with my full power, it would be a war of attrition. If it happen, this side will lose if I make a bad mistake. Benimaru answered Sui's question. In fact, if you compare the size of the base energy, Kazarim has twice more of Benimaru. Benimaru borrowed the energy from Rimura through the Soul's Corridor and barely obtained a power equal to Kazarim. It was a combat method to borrow power from a higher-ranking person that he learned from Diablo. Naturally, the requirements were hard and of course he couldn't fully utilize Rimura's power in combat. Besides, it was impossible to borrow it beyond one's max energy. That's because it would be uncontrollable. Moreover, there are some fine limitations, but it may be said that it's a forbidden secret art to be able to use abilities beyond one's power. Only the top three, Diablo, Zijin and Benimaru, were able to do it. It was the ultimate art that was concealed from the other executives. But, the only thing I can't understand till now, is Diablo's intention when he taught me this. With such question in his mind, Benimaru didn't change his relaxed attitude with Sui. Actually, he was able to defend against Kazarim's holy demonic fusion attack by letting the nihility energy that he borrowed from Rimuru accelerate and cladding himself with it. If it was only his own power, he was certain that it would be a considerably hard fight. If it was said whether he would be able to win or not, he think that he might barely win, but Benimaru didn't think that he want to actually try so. Anyway, one of the four fiends of the Heaven Commanders, Kazarim, was a powerful enemy. Well, that might be true. Against such monstrous class, it's unknown what kind of technique he's hiding. Right so. Sui didn't pursue the matter anymore and nodded slightly. As Sui understood so, Benimaru began to walk to deliver the final blow on Kazarim. The victory is certain, but there's a possibility for Kazarim to revive if he's not eliminated in this place. Since there's no insurance that he can win the next fight, Benimaru was going to erase him without fail. But, when Benimaru was going to approach him, he heard Kazarim's voice muttering. When he hears the words, Benimaru stops walking. "Hey, Laplace. Where did I make a mistake?" He heard Kazarim mutter with eyes which could not see anything towards the empty sky. Kazarim's recollection continues. "In the beginning, I only wanted a place where we could live in happily. Because the shortcut for it is to become a demon lord, I became one. Then, I guess I had got carried away." Such thing. It was someone else who was getting carried away. That's right, I remembered it. I felt aggravated by Leon, who introduced himself as a demon lord in spite of him being a human. Fussing over such dull matter, I provoked Leon for a fight. Haha, I have awakened a sleeping dragon. And so I was killed and I bore a grudge against Leon and lived for it all this time. But, it mystery. Why for such a thing all this time? We were only living happily. Laplace, you're mistaken, you see. I made a mistake. Again, we happily. Kazarim's consciousness sinks to the bottom of the everlasting darkness. That's right, I must apologize to Clayman too. It was the last words that come to Kazarim's mind. Nay-san. Kazarim-sama? Hey, it's not good, being stubborn is ya redeeming feature, you know. If ya give up, it would be the end. It's a lie, this can't be. I ain't be deceived, stop bullshitting me. Once again together, we happily. Do ya think we would let you leave us so easily? You. Laplace cried aloud. He was too defenseless, and it was enough to stop Benimaru's steps. This. A lie, Kazarim-sama. Tear, who feebly sat down, she became absent-minded due to her inability to accept the reality. Silence filled the room like time has stopped. Ho. Now is the time for my turn, right? With unnatural movement like a machine, Footman sprang up suddenly. He held an ominous round ball in his hands. When he held up the ball in his hand over the sky, it occurred. Yo, my name is Velda. It seems like Kazarim was defeated? Or the brainwashing was removed? Well, either way is good. Well now, I won't be speaking for a long time, I need to collect my objective quickly. The ball emits light and drawn the figure of the youth Velda in the air. The image linked with the form and clearly showed the figure of the boy. And the image spoke those words out. Everyone stopped moving hearing the words. Not because they're not interested with the boy's talk, it was because they can't understand his goal and were at lost. Moreover, a certain intimidating aura can be felt from the boy. Whether it was the descent of his main body or it was just his body double. Even Misery and Leon, who were high-ranking existences, were overwhelmed by the aura they felt from the boy, and they're not able to act carelessly. They stand alertly. What is it? Kazarim-sama was brainwashed, Ye said. It was Laplace who reacted. Yeah, bastard. What do ye think my comrades are? Laplace showed his anger, which was rare to see. But his voice didn't reach Velda. He simply acted indifferently towards his goal without any interest about Laplace. Velda held up his right hand towards Kazarim without minding the reaction of the others. At that moment, a light separates from Kazarim's burned body and sucked into Velda's hand. As if I let you do so. Sui with a very quick speed threw a stab at Velda, but his stab passes through the image and didn't activated the effect of one-hit kill. It's not an illusion? Illusion with real substance. This? Some kind of parallel existence. Towards Leon and Misery's analysis. Ah, you guys better not thinking too much about me. This is just a recording image. Because I'm talking while expecting you guys' behavior, there about to be a slight sense of incongruity. Well, I have finished collecting my purpose, it's time for me to disappear. Oh yeah, I think I should give you all a present for the end. Velda said that he's a recorded image of himself. It was Benimaru who was the first to notice the abnormality. Benimaru had sensed beforehand that it was recorded image of Velda, and without being confused he dashed towards the spot of footman who held the ball. The ball finished emitting light and started to pulsating, it begun to erode footman's body. Be careful. That fat guy. It simultaneously happened with Benimaru's warning. Kazarim's body emitted light, then a powerful light and destructive power were unleashed to the surroundings. It made all of the combined holy demonic energy goes amok and caused a condensed explosion. The magic power swelled to its maximum inside the container and was released instantly. With a flash, the castle's hall is filled with heatless destructive lights. The overwhelming killing power scattered and attacked the people who were alive. Velda's intention was when he retrieved the power he gave to Kazarim, he at the same time manipulated the energy inside Kazarim's body and make him explode. TCH. There are few people who were able to react. Among them, Benimaru evaded all of flashes of the explosion, which could be said a difficult feat while observing the surrounding situation. Sui, who was a distant away from Kazarim, in an instant he positioned footman as his shield and deploy multiple barriers as his defense. Misery, who didn't have any change in her expression, invoked barrier magic which wraps her whole body and she was able to nullify half of it. She received damage from the remaining energy, but as a spiritual life form the injury instantly regenerates. Laplace was directing his anger towards Velda beside Kazarim, but his life was saved due to his foresight power. He moved to Tyr's location, who was not able to react before the moment of the explosion, and he created a barrier while covering Tyr. Even so, he bore a serious injury on his back, but he seemed to be able to avoid death barely. And then, Leon's subordinates. All of them seemed to be safe due to the barrier which the demon lord Leon created, and Leon who shielded them like a shield with his own body. But, Leon, who prioritized protecting his subordinates over his own self, had received tremendous damage and was unable to move after being bathed in the destructive light which he couldn't nullify. However, there's still light of unyielding will shining in Leon's eyes, and he didn't let Velda go from his sight. The attack just now was brutal, but there's no one who died. Benimaru, who perceived the situation, let out a relieved sigh, but there's a small uncomfortable feeling. He was able to sense that uncomfortable feeling coming from footman. What is this? He has such question, but how's it? Was the fireworks beautiful? Well now, it's a present, but I think it's about time it joined too. I gave that footman over there Vega's egg. Although its reproduced body transplanted with ultimate skill evil dragon lord Azadahaka, it have the same ability. If it absorbs the explosion energy of Kazarim just now and acquired the holy demonic energy, I wonder what would happens? Oh well, whether it succeeds or fails, both are good. Well then, please enjoy it to the fullest. Bye bye. He lost consciousness for only an instant as he understood the meaning of Velda's words. The words that were just was a shock. Is that transfer technique? Did he return after getting the core inside Kazarim in his hand? Benimaru is analyzing, but he was not confident whether it was the correct answer. He had no time for it, as he has the produced evil monster as the current problem. He had received the report of its combat ability from when one of the four fiends of the Heaven Commanders, Vega, was rampaging. It was fiendish monster having a considerable immortal characteristics. The effective way against such monster is only by annihilating it with overwhelming energy. However, if such monster got holy demonic attribute, the usable means of attacking would decrease. It means that monsters which he can't defeat if he was not skillful enough. This is bad. I used prominence acceleration in the fight before, I haven't recovered my energy yet. If Benimaru uses the strongest attack he has, he may exterminate it surely. However, even if he borrows Rimura's nihility energy, he calmly concluded that it was dangerous as the loss rate of his energy is too large. In other words, he can't help but conclude that the war potential is insufficient against the monster the current Vega class which possess resistance to holy demonic attribute. It backfired as Benimaru had used his strongest attack against Kazarim. He could defeat him even if taking a bit of time, but he ended the fight with a swift attack so he could take care of Laplace. That was Benimaru's decision. If he was fighting only against Laplace, he would have enough remaining magic power. There's also Sui here, and so he judged that there's no problem even if there are four of awakened Demon Lord class. It may be said that Benimaru's decision which aimed for a quick conclusion was never wrong. But, he's just regretting his own hastiness currently. For the current war potential here, Leon is wounded all over his body and it's hard to say that Misery is unharmed. Although Sui is uninjured, his ability is specialized against an individual. Because he doesn't have a long-range attack, he's not suitable for erasing Vega. Above all, it's uncertain how will Laplace moves, preparation for that is needed. People below than it are not included in the war potential. The strategy that can be taken here might be only for him to be the leader and asking Misery to assist him. He can't help but expect that Misery has means for a wide area attack like Carrera. In case she didn't has such means, she only need to buy some time for him to recover his energy. Velda said everything that he wanted to say, all his traces has suddenly vanished. As the person itself said, it seemed to be a recorded image beforehand. What he need to be cautious is only footman who carried Vega's egg. The time needed for Benimaru to finish collecting his thought was only a short time of 1/1000 or less than 1 second. But, even if that thinking was just an instant, it was a decisive period. When Benimaru turned his sight to footman, it had already happened. Hoo. Did you see, Laplace? Footman the angry clown just killed that hateful Leon. Including Kazarim-sama's regrets, I will clear myself from this anger now. Footmen are saying as if he's the greatest. Like backing his words, Footman pulls out his thrust-out hand from Leon's chest. A large amount of blood flowed out. Leon-sama. Leon's subordinates panicking. Meanwhile, Leon collapses in slow movement and vomits blood from his mouth in large quantities. His heart was pierced, and anyone was able to see that it was a fatal injury. Having his consciousness almost taken by Velda's attack is one of the cause. Leon, who was covered by wounds all over his body, he's already not be able to deal with Footman's movement. Leon, who is one of the octagram, was on the verge of being killed now. In case of Misery, who is a spiritual life form, her core would be likely to be able to regenerate as long as it was not destroyed. However, Leon is a high-ranking human who possess holy body. He was an awakened hero, which was similar to existence which don't have lifespan, but certainly it was depending on the physical body. If he evolves to be a spiritual life form and become a demigod, the matter might have been different. Footman continues laughing loudly. Are ye a fool? Didn't ye hear Nasan's last words? Laplace Tsukamai to Footman, although he's serious. However, it didn't enter Footman's ear. Footman has already lived in his delusion, his reason, and his mind, everything already eaten away by Vega's egg. What's this, Footman? Ye too has already broken. Laplace frustratingly muttered. His eyes clearly sees the future where Footman breaks. Vega's power continues eroding him, Footman's anger, mind and even memory are consumed to nothing. In that case, the only thing left is merely an incarnation of destruction. I ain't going to forgive yet, Velda. Laplace swore for a revenge with anger in his heart. Tear, go away for a moment. I will start to be serious, after a long time. But... Footman. Footman has been controlled. By that bastard guy, Velda. Therefore, I should quickly end it. Understood. Don't act rashly. By the way, are ya keeping anything from Velda? I don't have anything. Probably, because I stick to Kazarim-sama all the time. Laplace, don't leave me alone please. Ha ha ha, leave it to me. I'm actually stronger than Kazarim-sama you know. Yes. I knew. Laplace turned his sight to Footman while saying, what did ye know? His eyes already swallowed all feelings and all the unrest in his heart disappears. The devil, Laplace staggeringly stood up. And then, he walks carefreely to Benimaru's side. Say, let's have a temporary truce. So he suggested that brazenly. Benimaru accepted the suggestion. There's possibility that's a lie and a trap, but he was willing to do it including it. Since Leon who he expected for the biggest attack has fell, he would use any usable hands that can be used. Above all, Sui can be added to the war potential as Laplace's alertness is dispelled. Sui didn't oppose it, he investigate Laplace's movement with his clone. Both parties were engaged it together. They did a strategy meeting while restraining Footman's rampage. He was worried about Leon's condition, but he gives priority to defeat Footman currently. If I'm not mistaken, that Vega guy suck up magic essence from the ground right? As long as he's in contact with the ground, he could reproduce endless. To Benimaru and Sui's conversation. Please don't worry. This castle is isolated from the world by a spherical isolation barrier even from the ground. Even the hole made by Benimaru-sama and Kazarim-sama a while ago, it's already been completely restored. Misery answers. It seems to have worked without a flaw. However, Benimaru expects that there's no means for long-range attack. Naturally Misery can use nuclear strike magic, but he judges that a simple magic is not effective. Then, you clown. Do you have any big move or something? Because his regenerative power is too high, he can recover immediately even if I cut him down you know. Call me Laplace. For the answer of the question. I'm sorry. I'm too, like that Nyizen over there, specialized in anti-individual. What, you can't use it? Didn't you boast yourself stronger than Kazarim just a while ago? What a stupid thing to say. If it's about underhanded trick like Seraphim Absorption or Awakened Demon Lord Transformation, I can't use it, that kind of talk. Even that such underhanded tricks, even no matter how many I am, I can't win. Therefore, I have 10 spirit bombs left, if I let them explode in chains. Laplace shrewdly shone the bomb from his pocket for an instant. Oh, so Benimaru nod. The 4 people were holding a meeting while evading the attacks that the highly nimble Footman launched. The power was sublime, but they were saved because the attack speed was slow. It was good currently, but there was possibility that they won't be able to deal with the speed later on. It will be a suicidal act to prolong this. Okay, his current energy is not so big as he just have taken the remains of Kazarim. If we want to defeat him, now is the time. Besides, if we spend a lot of time his body will complete adjust to Vega's power. That's right. His attack speed gradually increases. Since the attack has wholly demonic attribute, it will be impossible to completely defend against if you receive it. In fact, if there's no one who can put barrier of both holy and demonic, either attribute would passes through. It will be nullified if Footman become able to master it like Kazarim even if there was barrier against both attributes. Misery, I entrust you to maintain the barrier with all your effort. Even in the worst case, don't let this guy replenish his power more than this. Sui and Laplace, you two please set the bomb. I left the competition signal to Sui. Because I will blast everything at the same time as the signal, you two must not fail to get out in time. The 4 people have begun to move at once under Benimaru's command. It was an impromptu plan, but they shows a wonderful cooperation. With Laplace and Sui's strings, Footman is fastened. As 10 spirit bombs floats in Footman's surroundings, Sui gave a signal. Right now. At the same time, Benimaru multiplied the barrier meticulously that he deploys. He thoroughly probed the surroundings and made sure that there was no other Footman's fragments. On top of that, he enclosed it so that there was no room for footmen to create a clone. Take this, Hell Prominence. Flames of hell sweep over inside the barrier. At the same time, the spirit bombs explode and caused a chain explosion inside the barrier. It was originally an attack of holy demonic attribute that could be defended against. Yes, originally. It's lie, right? That footman, he eat the explosion energy. The energy of the union of holy and demonic attribute was too compatible with footman who obtained Kazarim's attribute. Even while his body is burnt, as his body were regenerated by his super recovery ability, his lost energy was replenished. Footman didn't keep his original form anymore and his size was enlarged into 3 meters, becoming an incarnation of violence. Why do you use something like explosions of holy demonic attribute? How cruel! Aren't you the one who agreed to it? Although Benimaru and Laplace was quarreling and screaming, that was an act to lighten the atmosphere even a bit. It might be said that the situation was the worst. As the current attack was not working, the only way left is to wait until Benimaru's energy to be restored. It was such a pessimistic plan. It was unknown whether it would succeed. It was also clear that footmen would become able to master Vega's power if they're buying time for it. The current footman raged recklessly as he lost his ego. He will kill all the living people in this place completely. The only point that can be said as saving grace was his egoless attack, which was means of survival for Benimaru and co. It can't be helped. It will be a war of attrition, I guess we only have to do it. Benimaru. That's right, there's no other way. Sui. I shall accompany you. Misery. No helping it. Prioritize yourself to survives above all else. Laplace. The 4 people were prepared for it. But, the overwhelming determination and touching emotion of the 4 people was destroyed in the next moment. Kyu-fyu-fyu-fyu-fu. So, this is what said that, you are never careful enough in the final stage, Benimaru Dano. Highlight stealing demon. No one knew when he arrived, an evil demon suddenly appeared behind footman and gripped his head. And just like that, he flung it against the ground. The demon turned around and shrugged his shoulder like he was showing his disappointment. Against such small fry of this level, what are you guys playing around? Rimura's demon butler. With a sarcastic smile, he said those words. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 214, The Closed World. The Closed World. I let out a sigh, as I looked at Diablo, who was going kyu-fyu-fyu-fyu-fu. He's totally getting carried away. It felt like he was saying, thank you very much. That bulky Pierrot who was Diablo's opponent, I think Footman was his name, I can't help but feel sorry for him. He's pretty much insane now, having only the motive to kill every other moving thing in his immediate vicinity, but it's not like I'm actually worried about him. The one who I need to worry about, was Leon, who was now collapsed before me. I walked over to Leon's side, and placed my hand onto his chest. Leon's subordinates were looking at me all surprised, but I put a finger on my lip, as a sign for them to keep quiet. Now wasn't the time for a vocal dispute. I took out a full potion from my chest pocket, which was in fact my imaginary space, and I used it to close up the gaping hole in Leon's chest. But, the potion only did that much. Leon had yet to wake up, even though his body had been repaired. But, there was no need to panic. This was still, the closed-off world inside of Misery's barrier. You could say, that Leon was really lucky. Just because, if I had not come he would have been in real danger. In the first place, if I were to give a reason as to why we are here. I'm letting Velda assume that I'm dead, as I observed everything happening in the world while lurking in the shadows. The mini-Moss clones stealthily dispersed by Diablo, were greatly convenient. They provided some of the best spy information, as always. My observation magic, and Moss spy intel. Understanding what was happening anywhere was easy peasy, no matter where I chose to hide. Well, transferring the information into the alternate dimension I was hiding in took some work, but I got Seal to do this, so this problem was solved. Using some magic theory I totally didn't understand, she created a comfortable space for where we did our spying. As expected of Sensei. She's almighty as always. We collected all sorts of information in that space, and as I was looking through it all with Diablo, Velda's presence was detected, in Leon's territory. There is a very high chance that it is not his main body. But the chance to gain some much-needed intel is also there. I see. If it's Sensei's words, it must be true. And that was pretty much the gist of why I'm here now. Well, it's not like the situations in the other locations can be ignored, but this war ends when Velda is defeated, so what I will prioritize was pretty obvious. Over at Guy's place, his battle with Chloe was growing in intensity, but there were no big changes just yet. Rumina's side was also on a pinch, but there's Adelman and Albert, along with Shin too. They'd be able to hold out for a while. It would have been the best if I could defeat Velda when he appeared here, but that's just wishful thinking. It looks like Velda's objective was to recover the power that he had given to Kazarim. He gave his projection physical mass, which meant he linked a portion of his actual body as part of the projection's data with an ability similar to parallel existence. Parallel existence was an ability that let the user control clones of himself, but needed energy to be divided for each copy. What he did was that he only overlapped his consciousness with the projection data so as to allow him to recover the power as data. That sounds about right. Parallel existence, which there is always a main body, or multiple existence in which every copy is a main body. Which one is more of a pain to deal with, depends on the person using the ability. But, in terms of ability classing, multiple existence is definitely one of the highest tier abilities without a doubt. Even now, as Seal Sensei is analyzing it right now, I can say that with confidence. But I digressed. The moment I arrived was right when Velda's multiple existence copy had finished recovering the power from Kazarim. I had just missed him. Nothing I can do about that. By the time I teleported over after detecting him, Velda had already finished what he came here for. Information was delivered at the moment of cognition. That was one of the annoying things about multiple existence. It's impossible to overpower that transfer speed, unless you use some ability to stop time. To quote Seal Sensei, the speed at which data was transferred was practically faster than the speed of light. It was word for word, at the same time. So, there wasn't anything we could have done to prevent Velda from slipping through our fingers this time. In any case, this was but a portion of him as data, so it's not like we could have given him a finishing blow anyways, so I was not going to lose sleep over this. The real problem happened after that. Misery repaired the hole in the barrier that Benimaru and Kazarim's battle opened. That was likely his attempt to cut off Velda's data body, but that was impossible even with the reaction speed of a demon. Rather, you could say it was a valiant attempt, with the situation being what it was. Me and Diablo snuck in through the hole too, but now we're stuck inside too. For us who were painstakingly avoiding getting found by Velda, breaking the barrier to leave was a no-go. We'd definitely be found out if we did that. This was a slightly embarrassing situation, so me and Diablo were completely hiding our presence and observing the others instead. So, we sat back for a while, and Leon collapsed soon after that. It looked like it would be a death confirmed. If this went on as is, so I decided to lend a hand and made my appearance. That was after getting the green light from Seal, after confirming no data could be transferred in or out of Misery's wonderful barrier. If there was any chance at all that I would get found by Velda, I would have left Leon to his own fate. Don't think too badly of me, the important thing now is defeating Velda. This may seem cold, but this was just me setting my priorities straight. But, this was good luck for Leon, as our current location was completely shut out from the outside world. I immediately strengthened Misery's barrier, in preparation for making my appearance. And here we are again, as I started treating Leon. At a glance, his soul seemed intact, but his core had taken damage. It was the source of power that an awakened hero attained. If this was damaged, they became unable to properly control their powers. That was what was reported, after Seal Sensei did a calm analysis. Fumu, what should I do now? But, the remainder are making a ruckus, which is a problem. Benimaru seemed to be very drained after his bout with Kazarim, and couldn't defeat that blob in a single attack as he was now. As expected, he understood that he shouldn't waste energy in attacks that don't get him results, so there's no sign of him trying to do such things. Sui and that devil Laplace too, lack the firepower to cause any decisive damage. Misery was putting all her effort into her barrier, which is the right decision. They looked to be stalling until Benimaru recovered his energy, but that wouldn't give me much peace of mind to carry on with treatment. I kinda felt bad for Benimaru, but I judged that this is time for Diablo to make his appearance. Alright. Can't help it, huh? Go for it, Diablo-san. The moment I gave my order, Diablo, who was standing by, sprung into action. Kyu-fyu-fyu-fyu-fyu. Leave it to me, my master. He gleefully and grandly makes his appearance, grabs Footman by the head and slams him into the ground. That was quite the outset, were my thoughts when I saw what happened. The rest who were shocked, and Diablo with his smug face. From there on, the situation was expected to become one-sided. I focused on treating Leon, and when I snuck a peek at what was happening. Kyu-fyu-fyu-fyu-fyu. What's wrong? Is that all that your power amounts to? It had turned into a situation where I wanted to say, just what kind of a villain are you? Well, was it because I also gave him orders in a somewhat villainous tone? Nah, that's probably not it. Diablo diced Footman up with the claws on both of his hands, showing the difference in power between them. Naturally, the parts that were cut up slowly dwindled away. Diablo was chopping him up at a pace that overpowers his regeneration. Huge flashes of light and impacts happened every once in a while. Was the barrier going to hold out like this? I'm worried, even though I did strengthen the barrier. Hey, is this going to be okay? Has Diablo forgotten that we should be trying to stay off of Velda's radar? It is judged to be under control. On that point, Diablo has his bases covered. Seal confidently replies. Oh, I see it now. I didn't notice when, but Diablo had used his Temptation Lord Azazel and activated Temptation World. As expected of Diablo, his combat style was as shrewd as ever. Diablo wouldn't be committing the same mistakes that Benimaru had done, huh? Looks like it won't be a problem. Don't think I'll need to worry, and just leave that to Diablo. It'll be fine. It doesn't seem like he will fail to divest ultimate skill Evil Dragon Lord Azadahaka. You meant that part? I was not worrying about that. Without me knowing yet again, the main prerequisite became stealing the enemy's ability. I'd just let you guys do that. I have went beyond being shocked, and just half-heartedly went back to doing Leon's treatment. As I moved on with Leon's treatment, I overheard Benimaru and Co.'s conversation. Yeah, no, I've been thinking. But that demon, ain't he just plain nonsense? How is he's just brute forcing his way through, but how is he not showing any signs of fatigue? Right. He's just that kind of person. As expected of Diablo-sama. Looks like I still have a long way to go. Don't go thinking of him as the standard. That's not a battle style that we can learn from, that's why he's just boldly showing his hand. It's suicidal to even think of trying what he's doing. To Laplace's question, Benimaru tosses a reply back. Misery simply gave her honest feedback, while Sui calmly analyzes and gives a warning. I don't think there was a need to explain in such detail to someone who was only a temporary ally, but maybe Sui was slightly shaken up from the situation. It's not like that can be mimicked easily anyway, so he probably didn't care all too much. He was surprised enough by the appalling spectacle to have lost all words for a while, but seems like he had calmed down enough. From the previous pinch they were in, the situation probably felt like a joke to him now. Accepting the facts that have just happened must have been troubling for him. Kyu-fyu-fyu-fyu-fyu. Oh, my apologies. I seem to have put in a little too much force, I seem to have ripped an arm off. His enemy cowered as though being trampled by the strong, as the demon chuckled. This was all too one-sided to even call it a fight, even the spectators felt uncomfortable as they watched on. Diablo was so overpowered, it looked like he was playing around. But, contrary to his tone, Diablo was making use of extremely high-level skills and was progressing his battle calculatingly. Destroying parts as he went on, he slowly sapped Footman's energy. The claws that his hands were clad in, was the energy of Turn Null in a super compressed form. He was using the energy he borrowed from me in a focused style. Such a feat was only possible, with his exceptional battle sense. Firstly, From what could be deduced by looking at the remains of the battlefield, of course Seal Sensei was the one doing it. The energy that Benimaru had borrowed from me, he released all of it in one instant. Controlling these vicious void energies then dumping it on the enemy, this certainly works against most beings. Most would probably be destroyed without being able to resist. But, there was always a price to pay. You would have to use a massive chunk of your own energy, and become unable to continue with a prolonged battle like how Benimaru is right now. It's great to keep as an ace in the hole, but it wasn't something to be used carelessly. On that point, Diablo's method of using it is more reliable. His special training to kill time in the past 2 days, certainly bore fruit. It was a method of circulating energy thought up by Seal Sensei, while we were hiding in subspace. Aptly named, the Taurus Secret Art. That's just an awesome name for it, but essentially, it's just using any space control type ability to create a situation to prevent energy from dispersing, then absorbing back the energy that was used. To quote an existing example, when Diablo was in his temptation world, he was able to recycle his own energy constantly. This logic was as hard to understand as magic, but Diablo was able to understand Seal's words. Let's say, there was your energy and the energy of another being, in a closed-off world. Your aim would be to neutralize the opposition, or mutual dispersion was okay too, but strictly speaking, the idea was to seclude one of the energies and release the other one from that closed world. Then, you absorbed back whichever one that was your energy. The opposition's released energy was then used to maintain the world that was created for this purpose. By using this cycle, it became possible to one-sidedly weaken your opponent. Honestly, I couldn't understand any of that stuff, but Diablo managed to pull it off. Even now, the spectators were probably thinking that he was brute forcing his way, but the truth was far from that. Looking at their reactions, the few who actually understood what was going on, were probably only Benimaru and Misery. Well, saying that they understood felt like a stretch. It's more that, they didn't fully understand the inner workings, but could tell that something's up. It's probably a good idea to teach Benimaru about this afterwards, but would he be able to understand this? I have Seal with me, so there's no problems even if I don't understand this. The only support I could give him would be to get around that with fighting spirit or something. As expected, even if this was a closed-off world, within a barrier, it's not exactly able to withstand the full-powered single-instance burst of void energies, so some extent of adjustment was required. If you were to ask who could do this right after hearing the theory, Diablo was most likely the only one who was able to. As I watched Diablo's battle in the distance, Leon's injuries fully healed without me noticing. In the midst of it, I dumped all the work onto Seal. That's how much my motivation amounts to. If he was a Bishoujo, things would obviously be different. I could care less about guys, much less an Eichmann. It was honestly, motivation, dropped. That was why while in the middle of it, to fully resurrect, there is a need to turn him from his current state, to that which is similar to Hero Chloe's almighty state and manage the flow of his holy aura. For that, I'll leave that to you. And so, I let Seal do all the work without any intent to listen to all the explanations. It was mostly into one ear and out the other, but I think it was some stuff about his hero core being damaged, so a substitute is needed. Reviving him normally would cause a drop in his combat abilities, so I chose to heal Leon without causing that to happen. What's with all the permissions she's asking me for? So I just diverted all that away with a Seal Sensei as cautious as always. But, when I looked at the revived Leon, I was half suspicious of my own eyes. Huh? Isn't it like, he got strengthened a little too much? I almost shouted out, "See Seal Sensei, just what did you do?" An analysis shows that he has become a demigod. Before this Leon had generous amounts of holy aura inside of him, now he has become the very holy aura that used to be within him. Simply said, he has become a spiritual entity. He didn't have a core now, so to adjust the flow of ki, he was remodeled to work without the need of a core. I see. That's not it. Though he wasn't hostile to us, why did you go and power up this fellow who wasn't exactly an ally? Well, I was the one who diverted the information away. Doesn't make sense for me to complain now. Good grief, it's all good if we don't antagonize him. In addition, the change was kinda forcefully done, so it's gonna take a while for him to become able to fully utilize his new powers. So we just need to finish up Velda, before it comes to that point. Well, things will work out somehow. I won't be letting this bother me. As I mused over such things, Leon began to regain consciousness. He slightly opened his eyes, looking at me. And... Shizu, have you come to get your revenge on me? Somehow, he seemed to be going on with some half-asleep nonsense. If I were to be destroyed by you, then I shall accept. Now, do your worst. Leon prattled on. It looks like, he is mistaking me for Shizu-san. That's mighty annoying. So. Fwadash. I threw Leon, whom I was cradling. Tien, no homo. Why should I care so much, for someone who has fully recovered? Is that you, Rimuru? Finally woke up. You better thank me, worship me too. I see, so you are the one who revived me. I swirled my hair up and nodded. I practiced this secretly, a pose where I, supposedly, look awesome. Many thanks, Demon Lord Rimuru. Thank me more. He's properly thanking me, guess I have nothing to worry about for the time being. As Leon and I were doing our short skit, Leon's followers in unison. Leon-sama. Thank heavens, you are alright. So, they all came over as they said that. Some were even bawling, but none of them were unscathed. I have already done so much, I'll just add this in as a bonus. I take out one full potion for each person, and break them on each individual. What are you dash? The surprised ones said that, but then they noticed their injuries disappearing almost instantly. This is even more effective than magic, can't help that they'd be surprised. Right when all their injuries are healed. Demon Lord Rimuru-sama, this great favor you have given us, shall not be forgotten. All of Leon's followers got down on their knees, and lowered their heads to me. This kind of stuff doesn't really mean much to me. I feel slightly embarrassed, so I'm hoping they would stop with this formal stuff. Now that Leon has revived, and with his followers making a big fuss over this, naturally Benimaru and co have noticed me as well. Rimuru-sama. Benimaru and Sui came rushing over. So you really were alright. See, what did I say? There was nothing to worry about. Isn't that, what Zijin said? I'll have none of that. I believed from the very beginning. As expected, they panicked somewhat when news of my destruction reached them. Zijin noticed almost immediately he was totally unfazed too that my divine protection has not disappeared, which helped calm everyone down. Sup? You guys doing okay? I was thinking of getting Velda to lower his guard with this. Additionally, the plan was to smoke out any rebels too. I tried to smooth my way out with this explanation. But, this was more than enough apparently. So that really was the plan, As expected of Rimuru-sama. Now then how should we, your followers, go about with this? Benimaru looked convinced, while Sui inquired for details with the intention to take action immediately. Now just hold your horses. There's still somebody smacking footmen around, let's not forget about him. With my appearance, you guys are feeling either too relieved or too enthusiastic. Hold on a sec, we got to end the battle here first. Diablo, you all good there? I had been found by them anyway, no need for me to be reserved now. I decided to defeat footmen as soon as possible. The preparations are mostly complete, Rimuru-sama. Alright. I nodded, and walked towards footmen. Danjit, damn. Just what the fuck is going on? Why you insects? To do this, to me the great footman say my. To footmen who couldn't even tell what's left or right now, Diablo delivered one final attack onto him. Yuri being noisy, shut your trap. As he said that, footman became unable to speak, as his lower jaw was blown away. You that looked nasty. I'll do this quickly. I shan't cause any more suffering unto you. You too, shall find peace within me. And I devoured him, after saying that. Due to Diablo's work of weakening him, consumption of footmen was completed pretty much instantly. It went so easily to the point where he didn't even have the chance for a final struggle. And just as Seal planned, I also successfully obtained ultimate skill Evil Dragon Lord Azadahaka. Kyu. As expected of Rimuru-sama, that was splendidly done. Oh no, this was all you Diablo, you helped weaken him a bunch. And also, good work there Benimaru and Sui. Yes. The three of them kneeled, and acknowledged my commendations. Them doing this every time feels kinda inconvenient to me, but formalities are important to them. And so, the present threat disappears all too easily. Later. This is hard to take in so suddenly, but seriously, just what the heck are those two? Well, we can put the demon aside, but that demon lord is way too unbelievable. Anyone who would actually pick a fight with him, can only be foolhardy or downright insane. This puts the nail in the coffin. I'm now sure Kazarim-sama was definitely brainwashed in some way. I think so too. Kazarim-sama had always been cautious, he'd never antagonize that kind of monster. He would even go out of his way to sneakily push for an alliance in the shadows, that much would be certain. I know, right? He was the devious type who wouldn't think twice over this kinda stuff. The two of them were really letting it all out as though they have realized something important. One of them, the devil Laplace, was a dangerous fellow who is at least equal to Sui. It might not be a good idea to leave them be. If that's the case. So anyways, you two there. Come work for me, K. I'll just make that decision for them. Wait a dash. What are you deciding on your own? Kyu. Are there any problems with that? You know. Laplace looked like he wanted to object, but is at a loss for words before Diablo's smile. He ended up fiddling with his fingers. I was rooting for the girl beside him, you can do it, but she could only quietly say, this is impossible for me. This made me feel kinda sorry for them. Well. You say you're hiring us, so does that mean we can expect to get paid? Salary. No, that's not what I meant. Huh? Then, mind if I ask what you really meant? That's a salary, huh? Come to think of it, back at Tempest it's mostly been something like a material reward system, we don't actually have a salary system. I did want to think about it some time back but it got forgotten with all the stuff that's happened. I'll need to discuss with Miles about this. Hey, those little details can be discussed at a later time. So, what are your choices then? Understood. Then I shall be in your care. Me too. Laplace and Tyr, these two devils are now in my custody. There's no salary just yet, so it kinda looks like they were threatened into being hired, but you lose if you think too deeply about this sort of thing. There's also Diablo who threatened them over with his smile. After all that, we had a little conference, together with the revived Leon. Firstly, for them to keep quiet about me as I'm in hiding. It's obvious, but the alliance will be called off the moment information about me is spread out. This essentially means I'll let their country be destroyed if that happens. This got most of them pale in the face and they nodded in agreement, no worries here for me. Me and Diablo are going to go back into hiding after this, so it's important we don't let Velda notice anything. As for Leon's country, they will still continue to battle with the forces which were led by Kazarim. They should be able to at least manage this much. I went and fully healed all the key appointment holders, and the opposition leader has been dealt with too. Benimaru will be returning to Tempest to lead our side again. Sui will be supporting Benimaru. As for Laplace and Tyr, I ordered them to stay in Leon's country and help with the defense. They'll help bolster the country that they originally attacked, but the losses weren't as great as initially thought to be as reinforcements. It's not like there won't be any lingering hatred at all, but I ordered them to keep that stuff to the minimum. I pushed the gratitude they have for me into Leon's face too, to get him to forgive them. It's awfully selfish of me to do this, but that's how I roll. I got them to promise to cooperate, though it was limited to this time only, but this is good enough for now. What comes afterwards, can be decided when this great war has been won, and that we survive. Also, though I feel slightly bad for Leon and Co., this is also meant to be a test for Laplace and Co. I didn't want to divide Tempest's forces any more than it already is, so it's a win-win condition for me. I want them to work hard, and focus on the defense of the countries. Just in case, I get Sui to keep an eye on them. Whether I decide to fully trust Laplace and co. or not, will depend on Sui's report after everything is over. At the bare least, there won't be problems if they don't betray me during the duration of the Great War. There's also the thing about Velda brainwashing Kazarim. It's probably his thought guidance which Laplace is pretty mad about, so I don't think he's going to betray me at this point in time. So our plan of action is more or less decided as so, though the agreement from the others have mostly been forcefully smoothed over by me. And thus, the ruckus in Leon's country came to its eventful end. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 215, Time Accelerated. Time Accelerated. Inside the stopped time, 3 people were facing each other in a 3-way standoff. Guy's sword flickered but was repelled by Chloe's katana. Chloe then sent out a slash with a flowing movement which was repelled by the ice wall that appeared in front of Veltsard. The ice wall broke and burst, becoming bullets of ice which poured over Guy and Chloe, but the 2 people ward all of them off with the weapons they hold in their hands without difficulty. Neither strategy nor psychological warfare had any meaning, it's a world ruled by absolute power. In that situation, the 3 demonstrated their power, no one conceded even for 1 step. It was a contest of equal balance. Well, what should I do? Guy thought. Even in the world where the time stopped, Chloe could move calmly. In a world where normal eyesight didn't have any meaning as even the light particles have stopped. In this world where time stopped, the reactions from the energy released is used to perceive the situation. Whether it's heroes or devils, since they were bound by the world's rule, it's impossible for them to act. However, Chloe had transcended that restriction. In other words, this person was a spiritual life form too, that's it. It meant this. Even in the lowest level, she should have become a demigod. A person who reached the domain of God while being in a mortal body. But, in this case, it's convenient. As even Guy would withdraw from fighting against Veltsard while protecting Chloe who couldn't move. After all, inside the world where time stopped, even defensive power became 0. Explaining it easily, all of the connections between the inherent energy that a substance has became cut off. In other words, the motion of all substances stops. Everything, even the link between substances and molecular motion. Because it was stopped, when an external force is applied, it will collapse easily. Even if it's a lump of steel, even if it's the world's hardest material, it can be destroyed even by the impact of a gentle breeze. Of course, the same applied even to superior arms. If it's lower than legend class, they have no meaning. Defending a target in such a state, the difficulty is too high even for Guy. Fortunately, Chloe doesn't seem to have any problem in the stopped world. It's dangerous to think so even though she's an enemy, but in this case he appreciated it. He put his worry for Chloe aside for the time being. The current problem was what he should do in this situation. Stopping Veltsard's rampage, and defeating Velda. Those became his ultimate goal. His fight with Chloe is an act, Guy's main purpose is to get out from this place. But it's impossible for Chloe to ignore Guy due to the effect of the curse. A very troublesome situation. Even so, for Guy fighting against 2 people at the same time is not impossible. After all, Guy's ability that is ultimate skill prideful Lord Lucider is the strongest ability. The essence of this ability is complete replication of ability that he saw once. It's one of the reasons why Guy was expecting that birth of the other demon lord's skill. In order for him to be the strongest being, he observed various ultimate skill and taking them as his. In other words, as Guy is analyzing Chloe and Veltsard's ability, it's not impossible for him to nullify them. However, for that, first of all, they didn't use their ability. I know Veltsard's patience Lord Gabriel, but what kind of ability is envious Lord Leviathan? Beside, that Chloe girl Ramiro gave a high praise for her, yet she has only shown her swordsmanship till now. That's right, it's important for him to see the ability of the 2 to analyze it. Even so Guy believed in his own strength. He faced the 2 while getting fed up without being careless. It's a bother. Veltsard felt unpleasantness as Chloe was able to move in the stopped time like it's natural. She intended to stop the time, get rid of Chloe and enjoy a fight with Guy in this world with just the two of them. And yet, Chloe, whom she looked down upon as an inferior human, was able to act in the stopped world where only those who had transcended as supreme being can exist in it. It's an unexpected event for Veltsard. Moreover, Chloe was able to fight her and Guy evenly. It became a very unpleasant situation. Despite being an awakened hero, she's more than I expected. Veltsard stopped looking down on Chloe. She recognized her as an enemy which she should defeat. In the first place, Guy was strong. Even if Veltsard tried to defeat him seriously, she knew that victory would be extremely difficult. Guy could understand the essence of an ability from just a glimpse with his gifted observation eyes. Therefore, all of Veltsard's abilities were naturally exposed. It would be impossible to win if she only depends on ultimate skill patience Lord Gabriel. But right now, she had obtained ultimate skill envious Lord Leviathan, she able to see the victory. In that case, she concluded that she need to postpone the elimination of the obstacle that's Chloe. If she exposed her skills poorly, her chance for victory might disappear. She postponed the elimination, but it's troublesome if she's disturbed. She thought so, and released an ability towards Chloe. It's necessary to use envious Lord Leviathan to deal the finishing blow without it being known by Guy. Therefore, she was using Patience Lord Gabriel right now. Patience Lord Gabriel's ability is absolute defense power. Its essence is fixation. With inherent ability to stop things, it was a very compatible ability with her. Freezing the moisture in the atmosphere, creating an ice wall is also its ability. It was possible even if she didn't freeze only the water molecules particularly and with other molecules mixed, but the result of her valuing the beautiful appearance was only a wall of ice. Thus, you are a hindrance. Please be obedient and stay there. Air wall, atmospheric prison wall, L. Veltsard just solidified the atmosphere around Chloe and formed a prison which couldn't be destroyed instantly. Naturally, for those who could move in this stopped time, they didn't need to breath anymore. Chloe didn't die because of this attack, but Veltsard had no problem whether she could break free from the prison or not. Veltsard only wanted her combat with Guy not be disturbed. But such clear sound could be heard, the atmospheric prison was cut open. The atmosphere in the stopped world shook, with the sound of impact accompanying a slash attack. It was already beyond the level of a sword technique. Veltsard was astonished in the truest meaning. That's right, hero Chloe, you are also standing in the same dimension as me and Guy, you couldn't be underestimated. A powerful person who's supported with experiences and didn't rely on her ability. And like herself, she realized that Chloe hadn't yet shown all of her cards. Veltsard glared at Chloe with hatred. Then, like with Guy, I will seriously fight against her seriously. An enemy whom she should defeat. Also, an equal like her too. Veltsard accepted the fact and finally became serious. Chloe perceived Veltsard's attack and shown a hesitation for a moment. Should I withdraw from the current combat and fight the winner? So she thought. But, unfortunately it was not permitted. Her body spontaneously reacted without being able to go against the order to fight Guy. With her ability, the absolute severance of ultimate skill Hope Lord Surreal. Veltsard's ability of absolute fixation was offset by Chloe's absolute severance, its shape is cut by Chloe's sword technique. In this case, Chloe's power seemed to surpass it, but it was equal in ability. Rather for Chloe, it's an undesirable development because she would expose her skills. Always hold a trump card, such was Remuru's teaching that she follow. It's a dependable ability, but it's preferable to use it at the decisive moment. She was warned strictly that when she showed it too many times, countermeasures would be made. In fact, even in the stopped world where she had an absolute confidence, Remuru shown her his quick adaptation. If it was real combat, there might be a possibility that she would lose some of her mind composure. And, she wasn't surprised at people on the level like Guy and Veltsard to be able to exist in the stopped world like it was natural because of that experience. As for Veltsard, she possessed energy incomparable to Chloe, as she could stop time for a long time. The duration of time that Chloe could stop is only around several seconds. However, Veltsard can easily stop time for more than several minutes without a problem. Obviously, she's a higher existence than me. Chloe recognized the difference in ability clearly. Thus, she prudently waited for the chance. Because she believed that Rimura would defeat Velda as long as she bought time here. But, a small doubt appeared inside Chloe. It's strange, why did Veltsard start by confining me? My action can't go against the order to fight against Guy. If her aim is to defeat Guy, it should be natural to cooperate together. She have a connection with Velda, is she not informed about me? Is it something like that? I don't think that Veltsard ignores Velda's words either. If that's so, Velda didn't tell anything about me? Such a thing. She thought that Velda's action was too unnatural based on what she guessed from Veltsard's action. Right now I must concentrate on the fight. Chloe forgot the thought. She thought about focusing herself to her katana and sharpened her senses. Guy and Veltsard. In front of those two overwhelming higher existences, worrying about something would lead her directly to death. Since the memory retrieval of her ultimate skill Space-Time Lord Yog-Sothoth had been sealed off, she needed to face them with other abilities. Time stop didn't have a meaning either. Because in the stopped world, you couldn't stop time any further. Even if you added a stopped world inside a stopped world, there's no effect. It would only lengthen the duration of the stopped time. Since her trump card was sealed off, she couldn't say that she going easy anymore. Chloe made up her mind to stand in this place with all of her power. When the three people determined their resolution to fight, a crimson meteor pierced White Ice Palace, which was Guy's castle. Inside the stopped world, with an abnormal speed, the castle was destroyed in front of the three people. The person who destroyed the castle, which was reinforced by Veltsard's concept fixation, stands calmly. With messy azure-colored hair and cardinal aura clad to its body. The ruler of beautiful scarlet manifested in the stopped world. Scorched Dragon Vulgrind joined the fight. Long time no see, Nei-san. By the way, the guy who killed my partner seems to meddle with Nei-san too. Ah, Vulgrind. You seem to be very lively. It's regrettable about Rudra. But, he's human after all. You don't need to care about it forever. It seems you're worrying about me, but I'm alright. Because I'm sure that Velda is the reincarnation of Nii-san. Both of their eyes intersected. Colors of anger appeared in Vulgrind's eyes as Rudra was spoken ill of, aura surged out increasingly from her body. Guy, I shall take Nei-san as my opponent. You Chloe, Demon Lord Rimura seemed to be worried about you, do your best to survive. If you die, that Demon Lord would go on a rampage, you see. If it's Guy, he would become a great opponent. Also Nei-san, for your mind to be caught by that impostor, how pathetic. I will make you come to your senses. Veltsard's presence was dyed with anger too. The mind of both dragon sisters swelled and both moved at the same time. Both of them clashed. By the shock wave of the rising destruction, a part of the White Ice Palace scattered into pieces. Two beautiful dragons emerged in that place. White and red. The stopped world was dyed in color by the vivid hue. And the essence of the red dragon's ability was acceleration. Both of the ability to stop and ability to accelerate clashed and neutralized each other's power. When Veltsard's ability was offset, the stopped time regained its flow once again. The world which was stopped had begun to move again. At the center of the North Continent, the fight between the strongest species raised its curtain. For now, I transferred from Leon's castle to the hidden subspace. As planned, Benimaru and the other would play their roles. In order to deceive Velda's eyes, the barrier was left active. He would think that the battle is still continuing on the inside. Well, there'll be no problem even if it's exposed. As long as he didn't notice my existence, all would be fine. Leon and Co will be alright for a while. I restarted the observation of the other places. The situation in the capital of Ingrassia Kingdom became quite serious, but it's not critical enough for me to get involved. However, a problem is still a problem. I ordered Diablo's subordinates to move and resolve the problem. Please leave it to me, Rimura-sama. Diablo bowed to me reverently and put the order into practice. Although, he just ordered Moss to move the subordinates. Probably it will be Venom or someone nearby. Diablo himself didn't seem to have any desire to move from my side. Oh well, it's fine. With such feeling, I continued my observation. The world movement has stopped. Someone seems to have invoked suspended world. Seal informed a warning. Fu. This scale of the suspended world is not just several seconds. Perhaps. Is it Velda or Veltsard? Velda in the present situation didn't have a reason to stop time. Most likely, it's Veltsard. That might be so. Even if Guy had the ability to stop time, it wouldn't be strange, but he has no reason to use it. Chloe would not stop time for a long time like this. Or rather, it's meaningless. Because if the opponent could move inside the stopped world, it would just wasted energy. There's no meaning for stopping time for a long time if she couldn't find some kind of superiority in it. Anyway. By making that, its natural, face, so you can move in that world too, Diablo. Fu. Of course, Rimuru-sama. It might be still impossible for Benimaru, if it's Zijin possibly. Ho. Even though I was able to do this just the other day. While I didn't realize it, my subordinates seemed to display a surprising growth. What shall I do? Shall I go and help Chloe Ju? Then, I was pondering. Even if he went there, transferring would be dangerous. It's also difficult to grasp the situation inside the stopped world. Because light stopped inside too, my surveillance magic was also useless. Transferring there without understanding the situation would be suicidal. Naturally, the reports from Moss had also stopped. Although moving inside might be possible, it was impossible to contact each other. If it became so, flying there was the quickest way, but it would take 1 hour. When I was thinking so. There's a movement. Vilgrind seems to have entered the war. Seal, who observed the situation, told me that. Immediately after that, the stopped time began to flow. Apparently, Vilgrind seemed to have neutralized the stopped world. Rimuru-sama, it seems to be one of Veltsard-sama's ability after all. Just now, a report came from Moss. How's the situation? Vilgrind-sama has started a combat with Veltsard-sama. Both in dragon mode, it seems to be a real fight. Fu. Like this, even for someone like me, it's a dangerous situation. I see, a full power battle, wasn't it? That's extremely dangerous. A wise man stays away from danger. As for Guy and Chloe, they would be able to continue their act safely while leaving the combat area skillfully. Alright, then continue the observation. As you wished. Then, let's begin the creation of monitoring system that can be used even in suspended world. Yes. If it's possible. Oh well, if it's Seal Sensei, everything was possible. At that time, situation of various places were once again projected by the surveillance magic. A surprising spectacle was shown. Dagruel had shown his fangs. Shin was knocked down by one blow. Ruminez had recovered, but if things keep going as it is, defeat is clear. I stood up hurriedly, but there's no problem. Please do not interfere. I was calmed down by Seal's calm voice. Certainly. My friend whom I trusted the most, I remembered to turn to her for assistance. On a closer look, she seemed to have done something secretly as I didn't notice. But, will it be really alright? It will be alright. Probably. My friend whom I trusted the most. It seems the confidence from Seal Sensei was also tremendous. Probably, I felt that this was the first time I heard this word from her. Even while being uneasy for some reason, I cancelled my urge to go to help for a moment. Until Velda is caught, it will be useless if I didn't hide myself. Besides, if it's not in stopped world, even in the worst case, I could go to help with transfer. I decided that I would wait here and believe in them. In the worst case, Diablo, you will go to help her. Please leave it to me. However, I think that would be unnecessary. I hoped so. While worrying, I gazed at the projected scene. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 216, vs Dagruel Part 5. vs Dagruel Part 5. This might be impossible. That's the honest impression of the demon lord Rumina's Valentine. Her plan was to kill Dagruel using her strongest technique in the first attack, but it had no effect. With Death's Blessing, the life and death reversing technique, Dagruel should have died. However, the result was that the instant death effect was nullified, and Rumina's secret technique was defeated. At that time, Rumina's was able to partly foresee that thing would proceed this way. The one-on-one fight between Albert and Grawward continued. Both of them didn't even take a step back, it seemingly an even fight. However, when the fight between the two was observed with ultimate skill lustful Lord Asmodeus, the situation shows a different outlook. Against Grawward, who's a mass of energy, Albert was distributing energy into every important point of his body. The decrease of their vitality was insignificant, but the difference in the aggregate amount gave hint of the outcome of the battle. In other words, before Albert finished to cut down Grawward, the outcome will be decided. Albert's defeat, that was the situation would be. However, no one could criticize Albert. Rather, with his wonderful skill, he was fighting evenly against the Sword King. If the difference of the energy was not taken into consideration and only the sword techniques matters, it can be said that Alberto's superior. However, even so, the situation didn't change. The way things are going right now, Albert's defeat was just a matter of time. On the other side, the battle between Adalman and Fen also growing intense. The young man with black hair who wears the jet black colored priest clothes against the skinny, small giant who wielding Gleipnir. Adalman had possessed and combined with the death dragon Wenti, and his energy has increased greatly. However, even so, the difference was obvious as Fen who is in front of Adalman can rival a true dragon. For Ruminas who can see vitality in numerical form, the differences were despair-inducing. Against Fen who's called both the fighting god and fist god, for Adalman to be able to survive this far was a miracle. In the flurry of throwing, punching, and joint locks, it was obvious that physical strike was the main constituent. Joint locks were meaningless, since for a spiritual life form, physical damage would completely recovered in an instant. He just barely able to modify the technique to perform a throwing technique to deal and blow away the opponent. However, in the end, that technique was for defending. Adalman couldn't expect Fen to be damaged by the throw. In other words, he just stalling for time. After Adalman understands his own disadvantage, he was fighting with the objective of exhausting the enemy by a long period of combat and not aiming for victory. However, even so, he was concentrating so hard like he was treading on thin ice. In Rumina's sight, she could see Adalman's appearance who ward off Fen's attack by casting away all of his defense and manipulated his energy to concentrate it on a point. In order to cover the difference of the energy density, Adalman was fighting by concentrating all of his power on one point. It was already such ability that could be called as a miracle. However, it won't continue more longer. Ruminas thought that it wouldn't take a long time for Adalman to lose. And then, Shin. The woman who fighting against Dagruel and standing up many times in front of him. Her appearance reminded Ruminas of the hero Chloe who saved her in the past. Blood flows out from her head without any sign of stopping. Even the wound in her whole body, bore new wounds after recovering. Shin's attack couldn't touch Dagruel, she was mortally injured due to Dagruel's counter-attack. Even so, Shin stood up, she kept challenging Dagruel over and over. Ah, Nay-san. Please stop it already. Shin-sama. You can't win against our pops. It's dangerous. As it is right now, Shin-sama will. Even Dagruel's sons were flustered at first. However, would they broke through their hesitation mid-battle and... Pops. We will be your opponents. There's no other way. I'm prepared for it. I'll do it. And then, I'll get praised. Exactly as stated in their determination, they went to face Dagruel. And right now, they were barely alive bearing serious injury, lying on the ground while being powerless to stand up. Those three were strong as Magians. That's why they were alive. However, that's all. In front of Dagruel's absolute strength, it was all useless. This is impossible, right? There's no reason that we can win. Even I only able to go this far, huh? To Ruminas's ear who reached the stage of resignation partly. Princess, the preparation for the retreat was complete. Such whispered voice was heard. The 7 celestial sages, who command the raid, seems to have advanced the preparation for a concealed transfer secretly. They have judged that there's no chance for victory in this war and likely to have made their safety a priority. Certainly. That's right, certainly, if she was the Ruminas from before, she would withdraw without any hesitation. Such thing as going to war with no chance of winning was nonsense. The country can be rebuilt, it wasn't something she need to be concerned with. Ruminas and her kin has eternal life, there's no reason for them to fight betting their life on it. However, will I be really fine? Will it be a correct action for me to withdraw from this place? Ruminas hesitated. Shin was barely being able to stand up because Ruminas' support. She used an ability increasing skill, so even a near-death serious injury would recover immediately. Improving Shin's regeneration power to the utmost limit was also one of Ruminas' ability. If Ruminas withdrew now, it meant Shin would die immediately. Abandoning the front and running away alone by myself? Such a thing, such an ungraceful action, I'll never accept it. I'm the proud Queen of Nightmare, you know. And so, Ruminas steeled herself. I won't retreat. If by any chance I get killed here, go select the next master from the 7 lords. I'm one of the proud octagram. Such thing as running away ungracefully is not fitting for me. Don't you think so? She said so and sprouted a beautiful smile. An alluring smile which didn't suit the face of a young girl. The 7 celestial sages, who heard it, have their eyes wide opened with surprise instantly. Their master, who attached so much importance to life, surprised them with such boast. However, at the same time, they were deeply aware. That's right, it didn't suit Demon Lord Ruminas Valentine, who called as the Queen of the Night, to be running away. Because she's the vampire princess who always acted gracefully and reigned nobly. I'll not obey such order. Yes. At the time of your ruin, we'll also follow. The 7 celestial sages disobeyed Ruminas' order for the first time. Although she was surprised by it, it wasn't unpleasant feelings which perplexed Ruminas. Far from it, it was instead pleasant feelings. Phew, you fools. Then, strengthen the barrier quickly. Hurry up, you blockheads. Ruminas cheerfully ordered them. As your will. Then, the city defense will. I see. Change the barrier's attribute using the holy demonic inversion technique. Don't allow those angels invading the holy city. As long as we buys some time, Demon Lord Rimuru will send reinforcement. Princess, do you believe in Demon Lord Rimuru? Humph. I don't believe in him. However, there are people who believe in their master while fighting. Don't you think that the act is worth believing in? As she said so, the 7 celestial sages shifted their focus on the battlefield. How the Demon Lord Rimuru's subordinates were fighting couldn't be assessed as just stalling for time. In this situation, even they're betting their life to buy time, despite it practically having no meaning at all. It may be reasonable for their own country, but they had devoted their own life in order to defend the territory of an allied country. Their action was a strong proof of them believing that their master would never abandon them. Indeed. Believing such word, we have forgot about it for a long time. Well then, we will start the strategy. May fortune with you, princess. Bowing all together, the 7 celestial sages left. Will it be really all right? So Ruminas hesitated. But she didn't regret. In front of her, Shin stood up once more. No matter how she was wounded, she rises up many times. That's right, I should do the only thing I can do, and so, at the moment Ruminas tried to support Shin again. Good grief, I have become the opponent because I feel the sign of awakening, but it's disappointing. Or, because there's a person who defends you, you can be at ease? If that's the case, first I'll deal with your recovery means. That way, you might grow a bit. She heard Dagruel's muttering voice. It took a moment for her to realize the meaning of it. Stop it! Shin shouted in panic, but she received Dagruel's blow and became silent. She didn't seem to be dead, but it was very unlikely for her to move. Glancing at her, Dagruel turned around and began to walk towards Ruminas. Ruminas prepared herself. Very well, Dagruel. I shall become your next opponent. Ruminas put herself on guard towards Dagruel. The words she said for herself, she felt funny in her mind. Far from being an opponent, to Dagruel someone like Ruminas was equal to garbage, so she thought. Famu. As expected, Ruminas. The pride of a demon lord is not just for show. To Dagruel's words, she laughed thinly. Such thing as pride, she didn't think about it at all. However, Ruminas just thought that she didn't want to betray. It's strange. Unlike with Chloe, I haven't associated with her for a long time. Fighting against Dagruel even though there's no chance for me to win. Why didn't I run away? Did I also believe that someone would come to help? Such convenient thing, would not happen. She pondered and understood. Suddenly, the image of that selfish and carefree black dragon crossed in her mind. A smile floats naturally on her mouth. Her appearance made Dagruel felt strange, but he ignored it without saying anything. Well then, here I go. At the same time as him shouting, his fist was thrust out towards Ruminas. Her soul was frozen in fear. However, Ruminas didn't run away. Evasion was impossible. Recognized that, Ruminas mocked herself. It's so different. Struggling till the end. I'm like a different person. But, there was no dissatisfaction, instead, she puffed her chest proudly. At least at the end she has her pride as a demon lord, and she can boast as she challenged a strong person without running away. At least, in her final moments, with her hand, that hateful arrogant evil dragon. Rumina's mind then stopped for a moment. It occurred immediately before Dagruel's fist reached Ruminas. The time had stopped because of Veltsard. Right now, currently. Something happened before Dagruel's fist reached Ruminas. The powerful fist in front of her eyes. And then, a palm of someone with tan skin received it. Dagruel's attack, which had an overwhelming power, was obstructed by a man who suddenly appeared in front of Ruminas. Then. Quahahaha. I have arrived one. While laughing loudly, the man shouted in loud voice. However, time was currently stopped, the man's voice didn't reach anyone. With the exception of Dagruel. No, it reached Ruminas actually. Did he come here? However, Ruminas was conscious but her body can't move. In such confusing situation, Feldera's voice reached Ruminas. What's this, I can't speak. Has time stopped? But who did it? She was flustered because she shouted instinctively, but Ruminas noticed that she couldn't speak. And so, trying to grasp the situation, finally she realized that currently the world's movement had stopped. What a carefree guy. Even when the world stopped, for him to be able to move like it's natural. It was surprising, as Ruminas continuously thought. At the same time, it became very ridiculous. The tension that strained her before death had loosened, she felt a sense of relief filled her heart for some reason. Impossible. For me to feel relieved just because Feldera have came, that can't be possible. She threw away such feelings which crossed in her mind and focused on the current situation. There was no light, she couldn't understand anything inside the stopped world. However, Rumina's super perception began to perceive the situation faintly. Only Feldera and Dagruel who calmly moving. She listened carefully to the conversation of those two. What? The? Even though I have make my entrance coolly with a lot of trouble. For the world to be stopped. Oh, it's Feldera. It was a miraculous timing, but you have my condolences. Even though I said that, I'm not the one who do it, okay. I know. The one who can do thing like this is probably my Anu too. As for the length, enough to stop time for 2 seconds, that person has the useless habit of stopping time for a long time. Oh well, there's no meaning to stop time for a long time. If there's someone else who can move inside the stopped world, stopping time doesn't have any meaning. That's right. I have advised her several times, but she doesn't listen to me. Oh well, it's fine as I don't really care anyway. She messed around such as stopping time when it was punishment time. Oh well, forget it. There's another thing to discuss. What? To match the timing when the time moving again, I want to redo my arrival. So, as I decided to be cool, it's necessary to make Ruminas impressed, you know. Can I hear the reason? Quahahaha. What, it's simple, you know. I till now have done various thing. Therefore, Ruminas considerably resents me. If I make her indebted to me while displaying how cool I'm, she would forget everything, that's the plan. Kukukuku. For that reason, I was hiding myself from sight. I don't know when you might go berserk, so I was a bit worried here. Yet, even though I had made my entry so cool with a lot of trouble, it was ruined because of my NU. That's the reason. Can I ask you for that? Ha, Ruminas seemed to hear Dagruel's tired sigh. And then, Ruminas also felt the same. This rotten lizard, I'll strangle him later. Ruminas raged with her face turning red. If she could move now, she'd gifted him a kick without a doubt. Perhaps, I'd be able to move because of anger. Thinking so, she hated Feldera's attitude. Feldera didn't think that Ruminas can hear him in the stopped world, she deemed it to be his carelessness. I'll teach him a lesson without fail later. Ruminas sworn so in her mind. At the time when Dagruel about to answer Feldera's offer, there was a person who tried to stand up with a staggering movement. It was Shin. Her eyes were bloodshot, the open wounds on her whole body haven't recovered. However, it was strange that no blood flowing out. While cladding in a strange atmosphere, Shin completely stood up. So Dagruel gazed at her. Shin, huh? You were able to move even in the stopped world. Envy seems to have disappeared. This is, I see. Feldera noticed something and stopped talking. Then as if to interrupted his word. Feldera-sama. That person, is my prey. Whoa, would you hand over him to me? Shin asked Feldera while panting, using her sword as a cane to stand. Feldera looked at her while squinting his eyes. I see, very well. I will lend you a bit of my power. Fight well to your heart's content. He responded so. Thank you very much. Shin seemed ready to fall, so Feldera supported her. And, from where Feldera touched Shin, his energy flowed. Although I had said that I would lend it to you, there is no fragment of restraint from you. Perhaps, I should collect it later from Rimuru. Feldera grumbled, looking worn out while Shin's complexion improved fast. The wounds on her body healed, even her clothes, before anyone aware, had become as good as new. Dagruel raised one of his brow, tolerating it, standing silently waiting for Shin's preparation to complete. Then, individual, Shin undergo ability evolution, ultimate skill Tyrannus Lord Susanoo was acquired. Unchanged by even the stopped world, the voice of the world was heard. It was the moment when Shin had awoken ultimate power. I have kept you waiting. However, as you hoped for, I shall give you some amusement. Famu. Well then, I shall accept your offer. The two nod to the other gladly and once again confront each other. In the stopped world where it was difficult to perceive the opponent's presence, the fight between Shin and Dagruel begun. Meanwhile, by any chance, is my turn only. Feldera was anxious about such thing, there was no one who noticed it. 1 Momotaro's reference. Deno. 2 Elder Sister, formal. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 217, vs Dagruel Part 6. vs Dagruel Part 6. Shin's innermost thoughts were swirling in fury. She was angry at having been toyed with by Dagruel, as though she stood no chance whatsoever. Her rage, as she watched her elite guard fall one after another. Her feelings of powerlessness and dismay, and her yearning towards the strong. She acknowledges all of these emotions, except envy, which has swelled up, and restrains her remaining emotions. This was unlike her past rampaging self, who simply faced her opposition with all her hatred, seeing them only as her enemy. She was now observing with her soul. Is it good or is it bad? That itself, is not the point. What really important is whether she can suppress it or not. These swirling emotions within her, were but a hindrance to Shin. But, the thorn of envy, which was supposed to have disappeared, interferes with her thoughts regardless, as though stabbing at her heart. Shin has always thought of being the number one most important existence to Demon Lord Rimuru. But, that is simply self-conceit. But it was also because she understood this emotion all too well, that it was so difficult to extinguish her envy towards other beings that were stronger than herself or showed greater promise. But even so, Shin has put into practice the act of accepting things for what they are. As per Rimuru's words, it is the concept of seeing the true nature of everything with your soul. As a result, though it didn't cause any drastic changes, Shin's true nature underwent a placid change. She now fully understands her own strength that is not swayed by her emotions, her own true worth. With the exception of the thorn of envy, all of Shin's remaining thoughts are now clearly unified. It was a mental change, not a physical one. Shin's evolution was occurring in a manner not visible to others. The battle with Dagruel began. Her soul understood right after that just how unfathomable and overpowering Dagruel really was. When they first met, she never did notice that hidden under his unassuming appearance lied a furious raging soul. It can also be said that seeing her ideal, the ultimate complete form that she pursued, gave Shin the shivers. If she was to think about it calmly, the fact that the difference in power between herself and Dagruel was decisive, it was all too obvious that this wasn't a matter where she was able to stand against him or not. But, even so, the word retreat does not exist in Shin's dictionary. Rimuru's strategy is flawless. That is how it must be. What that means, is that so long as there are no further orders, she has no reason to fall back. That was what Shin thought. Purely believing in Rimuru, following her orders to the letter. In a sense, one could say she has stopped thinking. But, to Shin, Rimuru's orders are absolute and is the only thing that mattered to her. That person won't blindly give orders without some form of insurance elsewhere. Then, until further orders are given, all I need is to do what I was ordered to. This was why Shin shows no fear in the face of death, and holds the lines with the resolve of not retreating. Rumina's cooperation was mostly unexpected. The prideful vampire princess vehemently hated putting herself at risk. With as much wisdom she had, she more than understood how impossible victory is at this point. Shin thought that Ruminas should have already fled from this battlefield, if she already knew that much. This is really unexpected. If I was alone, I should have been taken out of the picture long ago. Demon Lord Ruminas, is my impression of her mistaken? Maybe that's also. Such idle thoughts surfaced briefly, but Shin quickly shoved that to the back of her head. Shin doesn't have the elbow room for such thoughts, she fully understood that. At any rate, now that she has crossed swords with him, she could tell that Dagruel still has something up his sleeves. If he were to really get serious, she would be swallowed up by that power all too easily. That was what it felt like to Shin. If so, her objective would be to resist as much as she possibly could, so as to properly understand the true essence of that power. With that firm resolve, Shin has continuously took to the challenge in an almost reckless manner. Against Dagruel, whose essence was similar to her own. Shin brandishes her blade, to carve into her own soul the form she pursues, which she sees in Dagruel. And so, the cycle repeats as Ruminas revives her. The world's time stopped. Before Shin's consciousness, lied a world without color. Not yet. It's not over yet. She tried to open her mouth with the intention to roar out as such, but Shin's body showed no response. Her body was stopped where she was, unable to stand up. Rather, she was unable to even open her mouth. As this happened, the thorn of envy, which has been a nuisance to Shin's emotions for the longest time, the root that was lodged in her core, heart, which caused all her emotional problems, it felt as though it just went and disappeared. At the same time, White Frost Dragon, Veltsard awakened the ultimate skill-envious Lord Leviathan, but this was not something Shin knows of, and it wasn't something she would care about either. The important thing was that the emotion that was hindering her is gone now, that was all. As expected of Rimuru-sama. To have even foresaw this happening. This was but Shin jumping to conclusions, but it was the truth to Shin. Elation and yearning filled Shin's heart, and what felt like an unbelievable amount of power welled out from within. Pure unbridled violence. The power to destroy. Irrelevant to good and evil, the tyrant's power. Individual, Shin undergo ability evolution, ultimate skill Tyrannus Lord Susanoo was acquired. The voice of the world resounded. Shortly after, Shin's consciousness returned. She was in the colorless world still, but she has no problems with her cognizance. In place of sound, an individual's will is transmitted directly. Which meant that words are not needed. In this frozen world, which is governed by its own set of special rules, Shin started to adapt immediately. Ultimate skill Tyrannus Lord Susanoo made that possible. The foundations of her skill evolution were more than sufficient. Much appreciated, Rimuru-sama. That was Seal's handiwork, with her foresight of Shin's evolution. Even though she has only just obtained ultimate skill Tyrannus Lord Susanoo, it easily became fully optimized, and was fitted onto Shin. For Shin, who has constantly been evolving her mental state, controlling this boisterous energy was all too easy. In fact, it was because this was possible, that she awakened to this ability. Mind over body. Thus, with the evolution of her mind, it also triggered Shin's racial awakening. She is now a combat spirit Oni, high-rank divine monster spirit, a being which specializes in physical combat. A spiritual entity that can infinitely regenerate its physical body. But, has attacks that are capable of destroying the opposition's soul. Shin has evolved into what can be called the natural enemy of spiritual life forms, Energy Creature 1. She makes use of the energy borrowed from Feldera, to compensate for what she could not make up for herself. And, once again, Shin recreates her own body into a body that is optimized and purely made for combat. She notices at this moment that she has been unconsciously borrowing power from Feldera. Her consciousness, which felt like it was mostly instinctual and roaming within a fog, now felt refreshed as though under a clear blue sky. Shin has now fully awakened. Shin takes her stance, with her beloved katana, true, Hercules edge too. I have kept you waiting. However, as you hoped for, I shall give you some amusement. She speaks to Dagruel, in a polite manner. In this frozen world, Dagruel and Shin's true battle begins. A flash of blades crossing. That was but a metaphor, as such phenomena do not happen in this world without light. But, this was the only appropriate way to describe what was happening, as Shin swings assault Dagruel. Hardening his body beyond the hardness of diamonds, Dagruel receives the attack with his two arms. But, due to taking the impact from the katana swung from an overhead stance, both of Dagruel's knees sunk into the ground. Dagruel opened his eyes wide. In this stopped world, the air won't get vibrated. As there is no medium now, energy transmissions do not happen. It is now a situation where one would need to push their way through the molecules with their own bodies. Which also meant, it is also impossible to gain momentum from kicking off the ground. Impacts generated by the force directly dig into the earth, which results in what just happened to Dagruel at this moment. The laws of physics do not apply in this frozen world. As for the laws of magic, it is impossible to activate almost every known type. It's obvious that combat in such special circumstances will differ from the norm. Dagruel clicks his tongue, releasing excessive amounts of his power, and pushed back Shin's katana. Inversely, this time it was Shin whose legs were caught in the ground. The two continued exchanges between blade and fist, and slowly both sides naturally grasped the nature of how combat flows. Dagruel followed his instincts, while Shin learned from the situations that happened. The battle intensified. It wasn't just the appearance that looked intense, the invisible battle between abilities was taken into account too. Dagruel had no ultimate skill of his own. His existence alone can be called ultimate, as a being who is almost equal to the true dragons. His fists alone could cause destruction on levels that warp the laws of physics. The special vibrations caused would interfere with the earth and the atmosphere, resulting in storms of destruction. But, even such special powers held no meaning in this frozen world. Shin, I have no clue how long that sister of mine is going to stop time. What's definite is that your chance at victory is only possible within this frozen world, that alone. When time flows, Dagruel's powers will come into effect. Keep that in mind. Feldera's words were delivered telepathically to Shin. My gratitude for the advice. Feldera-sama. Shin gave her thanks, but in truth she did not understand the real meaning of those words. But, on a instinctual level she recognized the danger. As of now, the destructive vibrations in Dagruel's fists only affect the area that it hits. That was the reason how Shin is battling on equal footing with Dagruel, as she is responding on that assumption. But, it was very likely what Feldera's words meant, was that Dagruel's attacks are able to connect in a wider area when time is not stopped. That much can be assumed. This wasn't anything conclusive unless she took a hit for confirmation, but the danger wasn't hard to imagine. That's not something anybody would want to test out. With the intent of a short decisive battle, Shin increased her swinging speed one more level. Dagruel with his hardened body, repels Shin's katana with his bare hands. Huh, having exchanged this many blows with me, not even a chip on that blade. Conversely, Dagruel commended Shin's katana which was unblemished. His praise was not empty, and Shin also felt that he meant what he said. Naturally. This beloved katana of mine, was given to me from Rimuru-sama. I pour my heart and soul into it every day, you can call it another part of my body at this point. Just as Shin said, she polishes her katana daily, and it has become accustomed to her aura. Calling it a part of her body is no exaggeration, as, true, Hercules' Edge also evolved into the god class together with Shin's evolution. It was because of this that it is immune to Dagruel's weapon destruction ability, but this should be called good luck for Shin. And, what was really lucky, would be the similitude of their abilities. Shin's ability, which could be called the natural enemy of spiritual entities, minus break. Activating the effects through her normal attacks with her katana, she plunders the target's energy. The effect activates even if the attack is blocked. In addition, along with the fact that she is capable of converting the energy borrowed from Feldera into her own, she is able to make use of any energy that is plundered. Though she has an upper limit to her own energy, she can just use her opponent's energy to cover for her own losses. It can be said this ability further exemplified Shin's immortal status. And finally, as per the name of the tyrant, being able to control any kind of riotous energy, is what should be said to be the true worth of Shin's ability. For Shin to be able to even properly exist before a being such as Dagruel who is a mass of energy, is precisely thanks to the abilities of the awakened tyrannous Lord Susanoo. In comparison, Dagruel's very existence is a supernatural phenomena. Hardened defense weapon destruction existence destruction magic immunity neutralize attribute ignore defense. These are but some of the abilities he wields as an ultimate living being. Under normal circumstances, engaging in melee combat with Dagruel is utterly suicidal. Transcending physical and magical elements, an existence likened to a god of destruction. That was Dagruel. But, the ability tyrannous Lord Susanoo that Shin awakened to, gave Shin the means to stand against Dagruel. Which meant, the ability is capable of something similar to Dagruel. The ability of unique skill cook, to bring a desired result of the user, has evolved into complete manipulation over the law of causality. This isn't something on the level of Majin Laplace's future vision, it is an absolute ability. It is not prediction, but purposefully causing a result that is intended. Before Shin evolved, her being able to move when time was stopped, was due to the effects of her unique skill cook. Being able to control the law of causality, meant becoming unrivaled, in a world where time is stopped. All cause and effect, so long as they are in a world where time does not flow, Shin's will is given the highest priority in such a world. How unbelievable! For her abilities to be above mine. In terms of max energy, Dagruel had many more times the amount Shoin had, but Shin was able to stand toe-to-toe against him because of that fact. However, even with Shin's new abilities, it is impossible for her to overpower Dagruel. That was proof of the similitude between Shin and Dagruel. If you were to compare their abilities, Shin is superior. But, the two of them are on par with each other if you take the overall power into account. After a number more exchanges, Dagruel noticed this. His face turned bitter, as he glared at Shin. Dagruel has noticed that his abilities were being nullified. That was caused by an ability that was similar to Dagruel's true nature. Which was why they rejected each other, and both sides were nullified. In this suspended world where all forms of disaster-causing supernatural powers are sealed, Shin and Dagruel lacked the power to deal a decisive blow to either side and were locked in an unending brawl. Attacks which were supposed to ignore defense and cause damage, were being completely evaded so fatal damage is avoided. Both sides nullified the opposition's attacks, and simply consumed their energy. If this went on, in this frozen world, it looked like a scene which would make one think of a never-ending battle. But that balance would be broken in a single moment. That's right, time started moving once more. At that exact moment, Dagruel became certain of his victory. His superpowers which were sealed are now released. What that implied was that he is now able to unleash those superpowers which gave him the nickname Earthquake. Dagruel releases a massive all-range attack onto Shin. They were equal in the stopped world due to her abilities, but things are different now that the laws of physics are back in motion. The number of rules to control exponentially increased, which created many more results from cause and effect. Complete predictions and phenomena control has become more difficult to accomplish. That was already a feat, when the opponent was on equal footing. As per Feldera's warning, Shin's only chance at victory was while the stopped world was in effect. The ground quaked, with tremors that made standing up nigh impossible. At the same time, the atmosphere roared as it twisted, and lightning crackled. All of that culminated into the attack on Shin, assaulting her all at once. With the effect of the absolute ability of ignore defense attached, all for the express purpose of taking Shin's life. Even with ultimate skill Tyrannus Lord Susanoo, nullifying all of that was impossible. The overwhelming difference in energy is the biggest wall between you, Shin, and me. Dagruel's inner exclamation did not reach Shin. All of the attacks had the intent to take the target's life. And so, Dagruel, who had total confidence in his victory. Chaotic Fate. 3. Opened his eyes in disbelief. Shin has moved in for the counter-attack. Shin understood that she was unable to totally defend against the attack, so she discarded defense, and put in everything she had into offense. The fool! Do you intend to perish? Toward the blade which was swinging upwards in his direction, Dagruel extended his left hand out to nullify it, only to show confusion when that very blade disappeared. Right after, the burning sensation of pain, which he has not felt in a few millennia, reached his brain. Shin's finishing attack slipped through Dagruel's cognizance, and reached his body. However, Shin's body too took the full brunt of the multitude of attacks that were born from Dagruel's superpowers. Even if Shin's body had gone through evolution, this attack was fatal, or should have been. Rebirth, resurrection. A chilling voice reverberated across the battlefield. Shin, who was doomed to perish, was brought back from the abyss of death by Demon Lord Rumina's ultimate skill, lustful Lord Asmodeus. If time is flowing, that means support from Rumina's can be counted on too. With that reasoning, it was Shin's strategic victory. Shin placed her bet on Rumina's reviving her and not retreating. Phew, thank you very much, Demon Lord Ruminas. You blockhead. You totally anticipated me giving a helping hand, didn't you? Of course, I believed in you. Demon Lord Ruminas. Just call me Ruminas. I too shall address you as Shin from today onwards. Any complaints? No. Not at all, Ruminas. I too shall think of you as a friend from today onwards. Fun. Do as you like, for. Rumina's face was flushed scarlet, even though she said that. The same can be said for Shin. When their two faces met, both averted away as though embarrassed. The battlefield's tension in their vicinity loosened. The fighting was still ongoing at the other locations, but with the fall of the head of one side, it affected the morale of both sides in no time at all. Anxiety could be seen in the giant army, which resulted in the defense forces gaining the upper hand. The one-on-one battles between Graward and Albert, Fen, and Adalman restarted, but the giant side lost much of their earlier momentum. The defeat of their elder brother has probably affected the both of them too. And amongst all of that, Quahahaha. A certain someone not reading the mood laughed. It was Feldera. Well done. You did splendidly, Shin. Well done indeed. You went above and beyond what I have predicted. Feldera laughed pleasantly. Ruminas glared at the laughing Feldera. What, you were around? You stupid lizard, evil dragon, 5. And spat her piece. Feldera was spooked for a moment, he then puffed up his chest as he pulled himself together. Of course I am, I was worried for the whole lot of you, so I was watching over everyone. He said that as though he wanted to be thanked for it, but there was no change in Rumina's icy cold attitude to him. But, it was the truth that he did help out, albeit in the shadows. Fact was, while the suspended world was in effect, the beings that were responsible for suppressing Graword and Fen, his clone that was in charge of Fen, sent out distress calls multiple times, but they were ignored. At that time, much of his energy was being borrowed by Shin, so he didn't have much to spare were none other than Feldera's parallel existences. Despite that, it's not like he can proudly say that now considering the current mood, so Feldera was at a loss for words. He broke out in cold sweat, before Rumina's devilish heterochromia gold and silver eyes, words were unable to exit from his mouth. Gunuga. Why, am I being treated like a villain? You couldn't really blame him for getting slightly teary-eyed. So, what have you come here for? Everything is more or less wrapped up. To Rumina's cold words, Feldera felt like running away. But, the one who saves Feldera from his predicament, was Dagruel, who should have been defeated by Shin. Fu-fu-ha-ha-ha-ha-ha-ha. It has been quite the few millennia, since my knees have made contact with the ground. More so, the feat of getting blood to flow from me, there have been none except Veldanava himself. Shin, you have every right to be proud. Dagruel got back up, as he said that. The blood flowing down from his head, showed no sign of stopping due to the effects of Shin's ability. Despite that, Dagruel's aura only increased in vigor. Humph. Still standing as expected of Dagruel. Shin, take a breather where you are. As I thought, I'm the only one who would be able to be his opponent. Feldera advanced, towards where Dagruel was. And you should revert to your original form. Let us conclude this battle, with everything we got. He grandly exclaims. Dagruel nods. Phew. Dragon and Titan, let me show you which is greater. Don't you hold back now, Feldera. Graword, Fen, come to me. Now is the time, for us to show our real power. He bellows, in response to Feldera. His body releases an overpowering aura. In addition to a strange atmosphere. Utterly oppressed by the pressure, Shin and Co were unable to say anything at all. Feldera glanced to Shin and Co. Shin, when the battle begins, you should put everything you have into defense. Adalman and Albert too, everyone need to pour everything to maintaining the barrier. Better not lose focus, or all of you will get dragged in and get blown. Feldera spoke as though as stating fact, like everything was already decided. But, to his serious tone, Shin and Co, not even Rumina's refuted him. Feldera continued speaking. Degura, Ryura and Debura, pay attention to what you three are about to witness. I am going to kill your father. Watch the battle, and burn everything that happens into your eyes. What's about to happen, is a battle of myths. All of you are witnesses to this battle. Feldera subtlety finished speaking. The three brothers were dumbfounded, unlike their usual selves. However, they seemed to have understood that something extraordinary is about to happen. Understood, Feldera-sama. They nodded in unison, to show their acknowledgement. With a satisfied look, Feldera turned to face Dagruel. Over on that side, Dagruel and his brothers have finished their preparations too. Seal open, Trinity, 3 in 1 body. With Dagruel's roar, the ancient seal was broken. The brothers Dagruel, Graword, and Fen, were enveloped in a dazzling light. This is the second coming of the destruction god from the age of myths. Clad in unimaginable amounts of energy, Ashura 6 of the Titan manifested. Shin and Co understood immediately in one glance, that Titan is not something any of them can match. All except the most powerful of beings, a true dragon, who was before them. Quahahaha. Is that form your true visage? Dagruel. Very well. I shall take you on with everything I have. Feldera transformed into his dragon mode. And so, the battle of myths, between two supernatural beings begins. Meanwhile. Oh, I'm so glad. Here I was worried that I wouldn't get my turn. No one would ever guess that this was what Feldera was really thinking of at that moment. 1. The author give us how to read the kanji, the kanji is Seishin Simatai, the furigana is Enerogii Kuria Cha. Should I stick with spiritual life form etc. or go with energy creature from now? P.S. I would also changed it from the beginning. 2. It has kanji of, shin equals true, in front of the name. 3. This also have addition of in the kanji of the attack so equals true, apocalypse and genesis of life and death of universe. 4. Tsundere vampire. XD. 5. Wara wa tokage jania. XD do you guys get it, smiley face, /. 6. Sanmenrapai means 3 heads 6 arms, Ashura / Azura. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 218, vs Dagruel Part 7. vs Dagruel Part 7. Dagruel, the destruction incarnate in Feldera, the king of the storm. The similarity of their power was, lightning. Dagruel with his own transcendence ability could freely manipulate the electric tension between the ground and the atmosphere. Therefore, he could use various attacks with lightning, which was the strongest offensive power that the Mother Nature had. However, Feldera was the same. Feldera could circulate his own energy and naturally generate lightning. So, both of them have high lightning resistance. Hence, using lightning strike against each other was insignificant. Although it wasn't effective, both of them converted their fighting aura into lightning and fired it against each other. The result, energy with different natures colliding with each other, became a pillar of lighting which flooded the surrounding area. Dagruel freely manipulated the vibration wave. If the earth was vibrated, earthquake occurred. If the atmosphere was vibrated, electrical discharge was generated. It was easy to create a vacuum wave when he manipulated the airflow intentionally. However, it didn't affect Feldera. That was a justified matter. After all, Feldera is the incarnation of storm. Dagruel was well informed about that. There was no need for him to be flustered. Because both of them were long-time opponents, each of them knew well each other's character. However, as his limitation was released and became Trinity, this is the first time Dagruel fought with his original form, which was the battle form. Dagruel was aware that his blood was boiling with excitement. Now was the time where he'd have a showdown with Feldera, who was his long-time fated opponent. Therefore, Fuhahahaha. As I expected from you, Feldera. But, I released my true power, I'd be different from before. So Dagruel shouted. Becoming an Ashura, his blind spot has disappeared. Just like before, magic didn't affect him. And with hardening power, his body easily surpassed the hardness of diamond. Any kind of attacks would be repelled. For example, even if Dagruel was attacked by a master with the same level as Graword with a god-class weapon, it probably wouldn't affect him. To that extent, as the current Dagruel specialized in defensive power. Invincibility. That was Dagruel's current state. Quahahahaha. Laughable. Feldera laughed down Dagruel's shout. And then, he threw thunderstorm, lightning storm roar, as it was. The compressed mass of atmosphere draws near Dagruel while releasing electrical discharge. However, that superdensity attack was grabbed by Dagruel with one hand and disappeared. It's useless, Feldera. Didn't I say that such superficial techniques like this would not affect me? Feldera didn't heed him. Faster than his main body, which shot the thunderstorm, Feldera's clone went behind Dagruel's back. The real thing is this. Taste this, Dragon Claw. Feldera's fist, which was thrown at super high speed, was small, unlike the dragon's large body. However, the ominous claws that grew on his 6 fingers possessed sundering power which could tear apart any kind of material in this world. Dagruel's hardening power and Feldera's sundering power collided, resulting in sounds as if the world was creaking. Crash, and so, both have their arm disappeared. One of Dagruel's arms which defended against Feldera's claws disappeared. Feldera's left hand which accomplished the feat has also disappeared. It was a draw. Dagruel still have 5 arms which still intact. Also, the lost arm regenerate in a moment. The one he was fighting against, Feldera also can produce clones as many as he liked with parallel existence. TCH. As ever, what an absurd strong fellow he's. The absurd one is you, Feldera. For the current me to be wounded. Feldera felt irritated as Dagruel was able to defend from his special attack, likewise Dagruel also felt annoyed as his invincible body was damaged. Still, both of them were warming up. Likely enjoying the fight, both of their attacks became more severe. A half-hearted attack would not affect both of them. They both knew about this well, but on the other hand they couldn't bring out a big technique so suddenly. Since it was not possible to expect the opponent to be careless, it was necessary to make the chance somehow. Destruction Deva and Storm Dragon, both were equal. Like Kyozushi 1 in Judo, first of all, securing one's own superiority was important. It would be sheer stupidity to bring out everything in the beginning of fight. However, Feldera completely disregarded such theory. He began attacking Dagruel at once. Quahahaha. I'll keep going. Wing Blade. Several of Feldera's clones approached Dagruel in a super high-speed flight. The wings generated vibration and turned it into a high-frequency blade. The vibrations of the two pairs of big and small wings created a death-end barrier which could tear molecular bond. Feldera's large build was covered with death-end barrier and became a huge destruction sphere. Such fiendish destruction sphere was a thing that can only be created by several clones of Feldera. Everyone attacked Dagruel at the same time. However, Dagruel didn't panic. Grassword's face turned to the front, preparing great swords on both of his hands. And then, he moved to intercept it while at the same time several of Feldera clones approaching. The speed of the great sword's edge, which length exceeded 10 m, easily surpassed the speed of sound. By each one of Dagruel's sword flash, the destruction sphere that Feldera's clones had created was negated. In other words, that means the clones were destroyed. Dagruel didn't slacken his attacks. He continued. Exploding chains of the sealed destroyer prison. With Fen's face facing the front, he tried to capture Feldera using Gleipnir in his hand. With his eyes of truth, he discovered the one which have the greatest amount of energy from among the countless clones without any difficulty. No matter how many Feldera created his clones, it would be useless in front of his eyes of truth, or should it have be. Unfortunately. That just my clone. Feldera shouted like making fool of him. In fact, any individual that get caught by Gleipnir would immediately annihilated and disappear. Since it was so quick and overdone. Oh. You, to be able to deceive my eyes. What kind of trick did you use? Phew. Oh Dagruel, even when you unleash your true power, you can't defeat me. As there's no chance for you to win. Besides, even I have grown stronger. I'd be bothered if you think I'm still the same as the old me. Feldera dodged Dagruel's question. Properly speaking, eyes of truth can't be deceived. However, with his existence probability fluctuation, it was possible for Feldera to shift himself with his clones momentary. It was possible by manipulating parallel existence and probability manipulation at the same time, one of his secret technique. In addition of those two, it also utilized space manipulation, or so Rimuru, Seal, had explained it to him about the ability, but Feldera ignored it. Even if he didn't completely understand the fine details, there was no problem because he mastered how to use it instinctively, so Feldera thought. For such reason, it was true that he can't give an explanation about it. On the contrary, in case he understood it, he would be boastfully explaining about it. It could be said that it was good that Feldera didn't really comprehend it. Adding another thing for Feldera's credit, it was not because his comprehensive ability that was lacking, it just that the theory behind it was too difficult. Even if he was able to understand and mastered it instinctively, it was not possible for him to explain it to other person with words. Because Dagruel wasn't expecting Feldera to give him the answer, he continued his words, not caring about it. What, no chance to win, you said? What a nonsense you talked about. But it seems to be true that you're different from the old time. If I can't see where your main body are, then I shall erase all of your clones at the same time. While talking, he created a convenient situation for himself. It also one of fighting techniques. Even a strong person of Dagruel's caliber wouldn't ignore such petty tricks. Instead, he thought that obtaining a bit of superiority even by using such petty technique was a big matter. He calmly activated Space Grasp and the range of his interference wave expanded. After he confirmed that it wasn't Feldera's clone and he wasn't hiding using Eyes of Truth, he cut out the dimension, creating an isolated space. In this space, there were only Dagruel and Feldera. Also, all of Feldera's clones, in order to eliminate them together at the same time. Mew. I got you, Feldera. Eat this. Quasar Break 2. A great earthquake shook this cut-out space. The inside of the space was filled with super-dimensional vibration with Dagruel as its epicenter. Irreversible, interfering destructive waves were generated and emitting invisible lights. Dagruel consumed 60% of his energy to bring forth absorption light rays. Dagruel converted his own body into a pseudo-black hole, absorbing and destroying all matters inside the space. At that time, because of the generated friction which exceeding the isolation space, dazzling light begun to overflow. No matter what kind of life form, if they receive the interference of this overwhelmingly high energy concentration, it might be impossible for them to preserve their own existence. Not just disintegrated, they would be swallowed into the black hole and disappear. However, the majority of the absorbed energy was used by Dagruel to maintain his own existence. It didn't mean that Dagruel can absorb everything, so as a special attack, it can't be used continuously. Dagruel had the conviction on his special attack, and checked the result. The completely isolated space that Dagruel created closed together when he absorbed the radiated light rays. However, it seemed that some distortion remained in the dimension, even affecting the real world. It could be said as a scar of transcendental destruction, although it would assimilate with the surroundings and return to normal once time flows. There should be no one who able to survive that attack. THA, that just now is very dangerous, you know. Dagruel was astonished with his eyes wide opened. Impossible. You able to survive that? Dagruel shouted due to the rest of the shock. It was his strongest attack that should eliminate anyone completely. For Dagruel to be surprised was normal. In the isolated space, there was no escape. Yet, for Feldera to survive after receiving the direct hit should be impossible. But, it's a fact that Feldera survived. Quahahaha. So, something like this isn't a big deal for me. When you observe him carefully, Feldera was not unharmed. His wings were tattered, and his whole body was injured all over. He just pretended to be okay. In fact, he was not completely evading the attack just now. Making good use of ultimate skill Chaotic Lord Nyarlathotep, Feldera thinned his existence probability to the utmost limit, and was barely able to evade the interference wave of the destructive energy. However, several of the clones failed in evasion, they were all annihilated. It's a terrifying technique, and if Feldera was even a bit late, Feldera would be definitely destroyed. Feldera integrated all of his remaining clones and checked the current situation. His remaining energy currently was at 50%, he included the amount that was lost to Shin. I consumed a lot. However, it's all according to the calculation. Dagruel and Feldera were almost even. Feldera had about 30% of his energy taken by Shin before the fight began. Therefore, to overturn the disadvantageous situation, it was necessary to make Dagruel wasted his. The current situation of the amount of their remaining energy are, Feldera at 50% against Dagruel with 40%. A reversal. However, it was good because he succeeded in the gamble, the probability of his survival was very small against the attack. Feldera gambled that he could evade it with ultimate skill Chaotic Lord Nyarlathotep. Feldera had won the gamble. In the first place, even if he lose the gamble, he act with the prediction that there was no doubt that he could be regenerated by Rimuru. If I know that it's possible for me to regenerate, I'm not going to be scared of any dangerous battle. Quahahaha. Feldera laughed loudly with his true feelings that can't be let out. This was exactly the reason why Feldera said Dagruel had no chance to win against him. Do you know? If you make one mistake, you could be annihilated and won't be able to regenerate it? Why you don't focus on defense? Without doing any risky gamble, if you focused yourself on defense with all of your power, you could avoided getting annihilated. Even I didn't think that I can deliver the final blow on you who become unable to fight. Why you need to wager your life for Ruminas and humans? Humph. That aside, Dagruel. Why do you need to obey Velda's order? That person is not my older brother. That may be so. But, his aura, was without doubt, Feldon Avisamas. That's enough. I lived to serve that person. Laughable. For you to work hard for an impostor, you're not worthy of the reputation of destruction god. Shut up, Feldora. I won't forgive you if you mocked that person even if you're his younger brother. Dagruel boosted his fighting aura. Then, he turned small from his about 15m large body in a flash. Dagruel became around 3m in size. However, lightning flashed from his body, super compressed energy could be felt. Mew. Fuhahahaha. It was you who taught me, Feldora. When you control your anger, further power can be gained or so. Feldora recalled those words. Come to think of it, he had talked with Dagruel about the knowledge of the Holy Book, manga. Just from that bit of information, Dagruel had splendidly sublimated it to actual combat level. Compressing himself, the density of Dagruel's energy seemed to be tremendous. Size is power, but he would be at disadvantage with the way things are going. Feldora realized so. Good grief, for you to learn to control that far. As expected from Dagruel. However, I will not be defeated. Feldora also compressed his energy and transformed into human form, as a response to Dagruel. The unordinary melee fight begun. Dagruel's fist sunk into Feldora's abdomen. At the same time, Feldora's elbow hit Dagruel's face. Their fight lasts several hours, neither of them yielding to the other. A kick for a kick, a fist for a fist. Each other's attacks will be countered with the same attack. Instead of fighting firmly on the ground, the places of their battle were changing one after another. From the sky to the ground. And blowing off the surroundings, to the desert. And again to the sky high. Sometimes outside the atmosphere. For both of them who are masses of energy, the battlefield was same whether they go. With their own body as the launch pad, they driven super compressed energy to the opponent. And then, splendidly discharging the received energy out of their body, they prevented fatal injury. It was important to suppress one's own energy loss while making the opponent waste theirs. Each of their attacks intersected, properly speaking with the power of their blow, even high-class Magin would be blown into oblivion. Although they were causing large damage on the surroundings, both of them already stopped caring. A fierce battle that seemed to last forever. However, Feldora continued to wait for the opportunity. With his training with Zijin and Ultima, and guidance of the strong people in the labyrinth. In addition, his combat experience with Feldrind and Rimuru had made Feldora grew stronger by one level. Close quarters combat was the best combat technique for Feldora. I thought that I was a master, but it seems I still have a long way to go. I'll say it once again, Dagruel. Stop obeying that impostor. You're so stubborn, Feldora. My loyalty won't change even if he died. Is that so? I'm so disappointed, Dagruel. I shall end you with my strongest secret technique. Dagruel tensed to Feldora's words. However, it was already too late. Feldora had already completed his preparation. Feldora activated his ability. That moment, the surroundings are covered with prismatic darkness 3. Engulfing a vast area that even covered the region of the Death Desert of Holy Kingdom Ruberio's territory. Fertile paradox. 4. Feldora muttered in small voice. Inside the prismatic darkness, a cruel miracle manifested. One, a Japanese term for unbalancing an opponent in the Japanese martial arts. Making the opponent vulnerable to your counter-attack, basically action to make you have the superiority. Well, I don't really knowledgeable about judo and so, I can't really explain it. 2. The kanji, literally means supreme god/deity's extreme space-time destruction waves or so. 3. It's actually rainbow-colored darkness. I can't imagine it, comment and I will change it. 4. Mysterious waves which brings good harvest. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 219, vs Dagruel Part 8 Conclusion. vs Dagruel Part 8 Conclusion. The fight between Feldora and Dagruel brought tremendous destruction to their surroundings. There's a person who thought of this as something unpleasant. That person is Ruminus. Damn. That lizard. He's really ugh. Why he does take things this far? She was raging so much, that her body was shaking and trembling little by little. While having a hard time of restraining it, Ruminus pondered. The ground was flooded with pillars of lightning. Anyone unfortunate enough to be hit by it would immediately carbonize. Anyone can see clearly that it's just a matter of time before damage befalls the inner city area. The threefold barrier that protected the holy city has already unable to perform its task. The large-scale magic essence warding barrier in the border had vanished due to the shock wave created when Dagruel and Feldera clashed. It was unable to endure it even for a moment and was blown away, but it had valiantly tried to resist. The anti-monster attack defense barrier which protected the daily lives around the holy capital was in the similar condition. After all, as the barrier was set with the purpose of preventing monster attack of a certain level and below, it's rather harsh to expect it to be able to withstand the attacks of true dragon or titan that can be called super life form. This also was blown away so quickly. The only one left was just the evil purification barrier. The people who maintained the barrier raised their angry complaints while crying tears of blood. If one of them lost their focus, it was certain that the barrier would collapse immediately. That is without exception the 7 celestial sages, who commanded the barrier maintenance. In adherence to Rumina's order, they risked their lives, doing their best to maintain the barrier. Luckily they changed the barrier to anti-holy attribute using holy demonic inversion, in order to prevent the angels' invasion. Feldera aside, Dagruel's attribute is holy. Therefore, they managed to succeed in maintaining the barrier. In the first place, the barrier purpose was to be anti-Feldera, but it had become useless. Ruminas let out a sigh sharply as she was watching the battle unfolding in the sky. A battle of transcendent ability that exceeded even Rumina's imagination. Of course, even if Ruminas attempted to participate in the battle, it would be suicidal. Even if she wants to complain, there's no way to voice it. Therefore, unable to do anything but watching was her current situation. And so, the battle grew more intense. Next to Ruminas is Shin, who was enthralled by the battle with intense concentration. That's natural, so Ruminas thought. After all, such battle of myths like this was something that won't happen even once in 1,000 years. The battle between strong people, it's an experience where other people could only do nothing but to see it. Not to mention, such a battle between transcendents, no one has ever seen. One more thing, the lump of plasma of thunderstorm that was repelled by Dagruel, came flying and created a crater as it directly hit the inner city area. That damn lizard. Did he intend to destroy my country once more? He really needs to pay attention to his surroundings. Rumina's thinking about such unreasonable thing. Although she fully aware that it's an impossible thing, she couldn't help but to think so. And so, in the battle between Feldera and Dagruel, they changed into close combat fight by changing to their human form. No one able to take their eyes off. The super class fight will soon approach its end. At the same time, Feldera mutters something in a small voice. Prismatic darkness was created. What is this? It spread at a terrific speed and wrapped up the surroundings. When Ruminas sensed the danger, it's already too late. Her panic increased. Rumina's defensive barrier has no meaning. Resistance is meaningless, Rumina's thought was swallowed by the prismatic darkness. One of the 7 great nobles that served Ruminas, Archduke Gunther Strauss, who is the head, confronted a considerable threat. He was fighting against one of the executioners. Furaki Mai, who using the crescent bow. Mai's outward appearance was of a 16-years-old high school student, but her fighting power was beyond description. Gunther is a true ancestor vampire who lived since the ancient times, who is called Archduke. He's a strong person who surpassed a simple demon lord. His ability is equaled to Carrion, who is a former demon lord. And yet, in front of Mai, all he can do is defend. The 7 great nobles and the subordinates under them were assigned with the role to assault Dagruel's army from the flank as a mobile army. However, that strategy was prevented by Mai alone. Because people other than Gunther had been annihilated by Mai's Stardust Rain. The vampire's super regeneration can't catch up due to the terrifying meteor arrows. The only one who barely alive was the other great nobles, who was always quarreling with him. While managing to somehow cooperate, they defended against Mai's attacks, but that's a story from a little while ago. People who receive the direct hit from the arrow become unable to regenerate, they lost the ability to continue fighting. Currently, the only one who able to move in this place was only Gunther. Ah, you're so tenacious. It would be better if you fall down quickly, you know. Shut up, you lowly human. I will dig my fangs on your neck, and suck your blood dry. Gunther sustained a decrease in vital activity, which stimulated his survival instinct. Originally, he has no need to suck blood. In the old times, vampire act to absorbs mana, vitality, through blood, but after evolved, he able to absorbs mana directly from the prana, spirit. However, right now, his eye color changed, as he perceived Mai as his prey. Like a cornered beast, Gunther released all restrictions on his body. To his pride as an archduke, he thought that he must not be defeated by a mere lass. Gunther released the taboo. Commanding his old blood, Gunther returns to his original appearance. Magic power runs through his whole body, transforming his body, to regain his form as the Emperor of the Night. To his past form as a demon lord before being a subordinate to demon lord Ruminus. However, even so. So you said? That it would be better if I fall down quickly, and so. It didn't reach Mai. Mai acquired ultimate skill master weapon after obtaining the power of Seraphim, and so she possesses combat power of an awakened demon lord, million class, 1. Even among the executioners, particularly sword, shield, and bow, those three people were the highest among all Yuuki's subordinates. Arios who mastered the bastard sword. Zero who is an impregnable wall with his star shield. And, Mai who mastered the crescent bow. Those three people were an exception. Arios was once defeated by Damrata. That bitter experience seems to have promoted his growth. He threw away his self-conceit and became able to proceed through fights calmly without looking down on the enemy. The current Arios is like a different person. Zero in a few words was a silent man. However, he will certainly fulfill his given duties. From the start, he was a person worthy of special mention of his defensive power with his unique skill Unmovable One, but after awakened with Star Shield, Zero's defense was a perfect impregnable wall. And the last Mai is. With a flowing movement, she knocks her bow and shot her arrow. From a single arrow of a shot, it splits into many becoming like meteors. She is a one-man army. Exactly, that title was appropriate for her. Gunther ungracefully lying on the ground with both of his hands and feet pierced by arrows. You lowly human. An arrow lodged into Gunther's throat, silencing his shout. It's done without any technique. Mai's strength was too overwhelming. Well now. I need to keep it easy and slowly. I won't leave anyone who obstructs Yuuki-kun alive. Mai indifferently knocks an arrow on her bow. In order to deal the final blow on Gunther. We'll withdraw, this place is dangerous. A gigantic figure appeared and stopped Mai's movement. Even while Mai is surprised, she's relieved as she realizes that she knew the person well. Zero, what do you mean? There's no time to explain it in detail. I felt it was dangerous. Will you understand if I say that? Only saying that much, Zero started teleportation magic formula without waiting for Mai's answer. Wait a moment. Aren't you the commander in this area? Why you? Impossible. You intend to leave behind the angels. To Mai's astonished voice, Zero didn't answer. And then. Return. Zero teleported, bringing Mai along forcibly. Gunther's luck is strong, he had narrowly escaped death. Thanks due to his loss of consciousness, he didn't notice anything. Immediately after that, the surroundings were swallowed by prismatic darkness. Arno, who was just fighting with the enemy's commander, was left with surprise. At first, Arno leads the Holy Knight Order to intercept the Angel Army. At the same time, the Blood Knight led by the nobles also went to intercept the main force of the Angel Army. Although they lose in number, due to the attribute inversion of the evil purification barrier, the Angels' invasion was prevented. If it was to intercept the invasion coming from the barrier's tier, then their disadvantage in number will be gone. However, when the commander of the Angel Army went to the front line, the Angels' movement became quite different. The Angels faithfully obey the commander's order. They attack like willing to sacrifice themselves, and the tearing of the barrier accelerated. Among them, there also Angel who does suicide bomb attack, so the progress of the battle has deteriorated in an instant. Then, the only way is to defeat the commander. The holy knight captains thought so and assault the enemy, but the strategy failed. That man who calls himself Zero was overwhelmingly strong. He never attacks at all, but he defended against all of Arno's attack with his huge shield. Arno, with his result of training in the labyrinth, his strength is almost one step to Saint class now. Zero defended against all of Arno's attack as if he can completely see everything. No, it's like he can read 1 or 2 steps without a doubt. He was clearly an opponent on a different level. Zero is fighting against Arno while commanding the angels. Arno was enraged as he was being looked down upon, but in the end, he has no choice but to admit Zero's ability. Zero resisted all of magics and warded off all sword strikes with his shield. He was like an immovable mountain. Even the flash sword Arno learned directly from Albert didn't hit Zero as it was prevented by Zero's big shield. Moreover, the shield seems to has effects of weapon destruction and attack reflection. Arno who one-sidedly attacking would be the one who receives damage. Just as much as he strengthened the aura cladding his sword, the damage would become larger. It was still good as the sword itself was okay. With the way things are going, he would be defeated without being able to do anything. Arno judged so. He decided for a temporary withdrawal. When he put out the order, Zero ceased commanding the angels. Zero left behind the angels and went somewhere. Such sudden action left Arno bewildered. As the commander disappears, the angels stopped moving. Although they carried out an automatic attack, the angel who lost their commander was just a disorderly crowd. While being confused, unable to read Zero's intention, Arno issued order to intercept the angel. Arno also swallowed by the prismatic darkness. Without being able to understand what happened, Arno parted with his consciousness. Feldera standing in the center of the prismatic darkness sphere. In front of him is Dagruel. Did you change the world with me as the seedbed? Humph. Rather than changing, the correct answer would be I return it to its origin. Because fertile paradox actually isn't an attack. I gave this land my divine protection. Using the corpses as the nourishment, I quicken the growth of nature. I restored this land where the magic disaster happened before to normal, in order to restore it to soil with good harvests. By the way, your body will be the core. It's impossible to cancel this effect after all, it's because this is a restoration ability. I aware of it. Such a cunning thing and also provoking, you know. Quaya ha ha ha. I'll accept it as a compliment. What? You don't need to worry. Your holy aura will be restored after hundreds of years at the quickest, or at the latest after 1,000 years. Your current state would be restored completely and naturally reborn. At that time, the normalization of this land might also be completed. Kukukuku. Did you realize the current situation of my country? The current situation where the water will be dried up in about several hundreds of years and it will become a land that impossible even for the giants to survive, right? As I expected, you have realized it. Even the true reason of why I mobilized the chain of restrained Titan army to invaded Rumina's territory. Nope. I don't know such a thing. It doesn't matter to me. Anyway, I don't really care whether there are only dead soldiers and you don't have young soldier, women, and children among your subordinates. Fu ha 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 ha. Do you pretend not knowing? Feldinavasama's order is to protect the heaven gate in this land. We, the giants, had faithfully obeyed that order. And so, I understood that we would perish in accordance with the order as it is. Even so, that's okay. If it's only me. But, I couldn't bear to impose the same fate to those who were born after that person died. I'm sorry for Ruminas, but I thought that I have the chance. After all, this world is survival of the fittest. No one will blame you. Why did you want to restore this land? Did you do it to save us? Quahahaha. Don't misunderstand it. I just want to prove that I'm stronger than you. And at the same time, I thought I would enrich this land to mend the mood of Ruminas. I never think that the range of the effect would also include the Death Desert area. It was a miscalculation. Fufu ha 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 ha. Even to the end you still pretending like that, heh? Very well, I will not think this as a debt, Feldera. Of course. There's no lending and borrowing too between friends. Let's fight again. Oh well, I will also win next time though. Shut up, I'm not eager enough to lose to a lizard for that many times. Feldera and Dagruel laugh loudly looking at each other's faces. There wasn't any ill feeling, both of them had a fresh expression. Well now, it's about time the effect of fertile paradox spreading. So? How you procured the remaining energy? It's unlikely for my remaining energy to be enough to cover all of it. Since the angels are swarming the sky, I used them. Originally, the technique affects everyone, but I made it so it only affects the opponent with probability fluctuations. Kukyuku, convenient isn't it? There's no need to select neatly. You're an outrageous guy. No way, even my alive subordinates too. I leave them alone. If they are hostile after seeing the situation, then I'll wipe them up. As the angel has no free will, this time I make the condition for the target to be those who have hostile intent and things without a will. Well, I will deal with them properly later. I see, Dagruel consented so. If it's Feldera, he might be able to do anything. However, things without a will? That means all of the structures would get destroyed. Suddenly, such worry passed inside Dagruel's mind. As for the Heaven Gate, it actually has a will. Therefore, Dagruel didn't worry about the condition of the gate, but thinking about the scope of affected area of the prismatic darkness, he confirmed this in a moment, and it is clear that all of his territories will be included in the range. Well, they're all included because he understood that the purpose is to restore the land. Oh well. Structures can be rebuilt. I don't need to worry about it. Dagruel renews his feelings. But at the end. Feldera, is it okay if I ask you a request? What is it? I want to ask you to give my message to my sons and subordinates. So he said to Feldera. Feldera in response. Quahahaha. You should tell them with your own mouth. Didn't I say there's no lending and borrowing? If it's for such thing, you will manage to do it somehow. Soon, the darkness will disperse. Answered so, he was smiling broadly. The prismatic darkness cleared up. The place that was a death desert area, a wasteland that spread as far as the eye can see. That place is now transformed to a land where greenery spread out all over. Vegetation grows in a terrific vigor, bring forth a fertile soil. In a flash, a vast woodlands was formed that won't inferior to Great Jura Forest. Didn't it works a bit too fast? Feldera mutters in small voice. Apparently, the change was more than he intended. Next to Feldera, who grimaced uneasily, is Dagruel, who did his last speech. Hear me. I assign Degura as my successor. Ryura, Debra. Help Degura, exerts your effort for the prosperity of the giant race. And, the warriors of the giant race. You all shall obey Degura as your king. You all need to ascertain of what is correct with your own judgment together with the new king. The fate of the giant race hanging in your judgment. Running away is not allowed. At the dawn when I returned, if the giant race has perished. You guys understand? Yeah, yes. Of course, father. I'll risk my own life to fulfill my duty as the king. We too will help elder brother, we'll promise that we will live up to father's expectations. Of course. The three brothers who watching the fight between Feldera and Dagruel to the end were awake at the same time as the darkness disappears. And, as soon of their awakening, giving no time to digest the content of the declaration, they stated the oath. The reason is that Dagruel emitted air like hesitation will not be allowed. And so, we all present here, in accordance with the new king, shall devote ourselves for the country. With Dagruel's defeat, the elites of the chain of restrained Titan army understood Feldera's aid, they followed it without raising any objection. Seeing it with his own eyes, Dagruel nodded satisfactorily. It's regrettable that I'm unable to see the end of this great war, but it seems my time is no more. If it's you guys, I'll believe that you all can choose the right way, unlike mine. I entrust it to you all in my absence. Well then, goodbye. Dagruel was sucked into the ground and disappeared with that as his last words. He falls into a long sleep in this land, in order to regenerate his own body. Thus, the invasion of Dagruel's army failed. The angels were sacrificed without one remaining. The allied forces of Rimuru and Rumenas had succeeded in defending this place. Thus, the defense of this territory succeeded, but the city was gone without any trace. As Dagruel feared, the city that's inorganic substance was spotlessly destroyed. Moreover, with the birth of a new great forest, it seems that it wouldn't be easy for the reconstruction of the city. Of course, that thing is the reason why a certain person was enraged. Well, Feldera, what does this mean? Do you have an explanation for me? Rumenas asked Feldera with a clear vein popping on her brow which hidden by her beautiful silver hair. She put a beautiful smile on her face, but her eyes are not laughing at all. Feldera instantly. This is impossible. My perfect plan to lose my infamy. Saving Rumenas from a crisis, moreover, changing Rumenas' territory into land with good harvests. It should be a perfect plan. And yet, there's an apparent questionable mood. There is a reason that deeper than the ocean for this. I want to explain it, but I'm busy. We will talk about it later. Saying so, Feldera soared to the sky. And at the speed exceeding the speed when he fought Dagruel, he left behind the surface. Damn it, he runs away again. I won't forgive him, that idiot lizard. Rumena's angry words didn't reach Feldera. One forgot to mention this when it appears in past chapters, refers to those who have EP, 1M+. EP, energy points I think. ___/. 2 can also mean, no debt between friends. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 220, Royal Capital Disturbance. Royal Capital Disturbance. Hinata felt hopeless when she grasped the current situation. However, as the supreme leader, such emotion can't be shown in her expression. The main church in the Ingrassia kingdom is filled with the citizens who have taken shelter in it. Hinata greatly understood that she couldn't allow anxiety to be seen on her face in front of them. Just before noon on the second day after Velda's declaration, each of the country's capitals fell into chaos. The citizens showed various reactions. There were people who ran away for their own lives, people who rioted, and people who welcomed the death Velda will bring. The holy knights and trained priests that were dispatched to each country worked hard to suppress the citizens' confusion and guide them to shelter. There's no other word apart from splendid for their ability to suppress the people's confusion just by one day. It was a great achievement accomplished under the command of Hinata, who is the chairwoman of the Freedom Arbitration Committee, with the cooperation of Nicholas, who is a cardinal of the Holy Church. To the confused citizens, she explained that it's impossible for Demon Lord Rimuru to be defeated, which calmed down their anxiety. The governing body of each country who knows Demon Lord Rimuru showed an immediate settling down, but it can't earn the trust of the countries which didn't associate with Rimuru. Even Hinata understands that it can't be helped. Even if she said to believe in Demon Lord, there might be a few people who are convinced. However, even so, there's no choice but to believe now. After all, if the Demon Lord alliance was defeated, this world will be destroyed by Velda. Therefore, Hinata didn't waver. The things that Hinata can do now are to prevent chaos and suppress the citizens' anxiety even by a little. Hinata did her best as the leader of the army to guarantee the citizens' safety. But rioters were unavoidable at the end of the world. In addition to their bad character, they showed up and chose the worst decision at the worst time, which became the primary factor that tormented Hinata and co. Those people mobilized all of the country power and have Hinata and co cornered. They denounced Hinata as a witch who deceived people's mind, which fueled the people's anxiety. A witch who was charmed by the Demon Lord, the one who leads everyone to ruin, they loudly exclaimed. The holy church of the Ingrassia kingdom where Hinata is in was surrounded. The citizens who have taken shelter inside the main church borrowed under the name of the Freedom Arbitration Committee looked at Hinata with their anxious faces. That might be so. After all, the one who denounces Hinata. My people. That witch had falsely accused me and made me lost my position in the council. Moreover, she killed my father and brought chaos and sorrow to this country. If you all are wise, I believe that you'll understand whose words are correct. That's right, because it was Elric himself, the prince of this country. The figure of the leader of the Guard Knight Order, Reiner, can be seen on his side. The perpetrator who murdered the king and leading the Knight Order without a doubt is Reiner. Hinata thought while letting out a sigh. He completely forestalled Hinata. He planned everything, even if she said anything right now, all of the evidence must have been destroyed. The problem above all of it is Prince Elric is pretty popular among the population. Prince Elric with his gentlemanly appearance is pretty popular with the women. His ability aside, he gained the people's favor due to his sociable appearance. His blunder in the council was not told to the people. As it was the royal family's disgrace, Elric was just punished with house arrest for 1 year. Taking a consideration as he is the heir of the kingdom, the house arrest was said to be a form of re-education. Either way, Tempest has become the major power. What happens to the heir of a country is not Hinata's concern. So she thought. He didn't raise any objection to that punishment, but it seems it had backfired. His terrible and reckless actions to plan to murder his father and usurp the throne was an unexpected event for Hinata. I never thought that he was this foolish. Hinata cursed her own carelessness inside her mind. Hinata feels the naivete that can't be found in her previous self. It might be said that it's Hinata's mistake that she failed to see that Prince Elric was this foolish and didn't execute him that time. Although there's no use in regretting it now. It can't be said that Holy Church's grounds is vast. But, even so, more than 1,000 citizens were taking shelter inside. The former members of the Freedom Association who lives in the vicinity of the Ingrassia Kingdom have no house in the capital. Now they were working for the committee, but as they don't belong to the country, neither land nor house can be owned by them within the kingdom. Apart from the people who stay in the building borrowed by the committee, most people lived in the city blocks around the capital. It was Hinata who chose the church as a place to accept those people. Therefore, Prince Elric's speech was not for the people inside the cathedral. His speech is for the nearby citizens who look at the national army surrounding the church with their trembling eyes. In response to this unprecedented crisis is the answer to the question of what's happening in the kingdom for the army to move. Those bastards, to smooth over the blunder in the council, what an overbearing way. Moreover, they killed the king and intend to charge Hinata-sama as the culprit. To Hinata's mutter, Nicholas calmly throws his interjections. It seemed Elric intends to take advantage of this chaos to make all of his mistakes and crimes forgotten. The annoying thing is, Elric as the prince of this kingdom is popular. Which one will the people believe? That's clear as day. It's because Hinata-sama can't be said to have a good reputation. Fritz crack a joke, the Holy Knight leader Leonard makes a small consent. The two of them are the only Holy Knights left in here. Everyone else is either dispatched to various places or assigned to the duty of defending of the Holy Capital under Arno, the vice-captain's command. In contrast to the capital that is a safe ground, there was no room to spare for additional war forces. Although there are dozens of apprentice soldiers, many of which are boys, it's unlikely for them to be war forces. As for the adventurers, they are guarding the refugees gathering around in each country under Hinata's order. There were only 4 people among Hinata and Co who can actually fight. On the other hand, the opponent is a country's army. Soldiers and knights, the Ingrassia Kingdom, which is a large rich country, boasted of a considerable number of knights commanded by Reiner seems to have surrounded the church. Even a regular soldier is troublesome, and Hinata and Co can't move carelessly since there are knights. There are 2 holy knights here, but it will be difficult to protect the citizens who have taken shelter. The refugees were just like a hostage to Hinata and Co. Then, what will we do? It's a matter of time before those guys break in as things are. If it's just us, we can break through and escape, but we will let the citizens die. Is it impossible to protect the citizens? If this is going to happen, it would be better if we moved to the Holy City. No, it's hard over there too. The opponents over there are the Angel Army and Chain of Restraint Titan Army of Demon Lord Dagruel. The war seems to have intensified. A little while ago, not only the telepathy got cut off, the gate also stopped working. I'm certain that there's some kind of emergency happened there. To Leonard and Nicholas's information, Hinata knits her eyebrows. In the worst case, it was planned to escape to the Holy City, but that escape path seems to have been closed. However, there probably won't be enough time to transfer everyone. What did those guys demand? Yes, they said to bring out Hinata-sama from a little while ago. That guy named Reiner seems wants to display his power. They said, they dislike that Hinata-sama was called as the strongest. If you want, should I be their opponent? Fritz answered Hinata's question. In this crisis situation, how leisurely? No way, he seriously said that. Was Reiner is such a big fool to that extent? Hinata tries to laugh it away and stops moving. And, she timidly asked Fritz. Fritz lets out a sigh and. That no way indeed. He answered while shrugging his shoulders. According to Fritz's explanation, it seems Reiner want to wipe out the disgrace of wedding himself due to Shana's coercion at the council by all means. For that reason, he plans to clear his name by defeating Hinata, who is called as the strongest holy knight. Fool. I already don't have power as I did before. I already retired, you know. It seems to be irrelevant. For Reiner, he wants to overwhelm Hinata-sama in front of the masses to show off his strength. In this regard, I could see that his ulterior motive to harass you. Fritz reported with his full of contempt appearance. Nicholas, who hears it, was enraged. He can't be forgiven, we need to kill him. That lowlife is not qualified to live. Immediately, Nicholas, who might go to kill, was stopped by Leonard from behind. Please wait, Cardinal. That's what the enemy wants. Leonard said so and desperately restrained Nicholas. He's thinking about measures while waiting for Nicholas to settle down. There's not much time left. Then, if I get defeated, will the citizens survive? I can't say anything. However, although he says defeat, it means death. Laying the blame for the crime of killing the king is Prince Elric's goal. Reiner and the prince cooperated in this coup d'état because their interests matched. Showing your defeat is. Fritz stopped talking. It doesn't need to be said, their plan was a stupid one, and even Hinata was able to understand that. But, there seems to be no other plan to suppress damage. At least, if she accepted the duel, the citizens would be out of harm. She would somehow counterattack. However, as soon as she done it, Hinata won't be able to wipe the stigma that accused to her as the witch who rebels against the country army. Right now, as long as she has a chance for excuses, it might be possible to clear her name of that false accusation. If thing goes well, there might be a possibility for evidence to be found that Prince Elric and co were the ones who killed the king. I don't have another choice but to go out. In the meanwhile, strengthen the defense as much as possible. Put a lot layer of defense barrier, turns the cathedral as an impregnable fortress. After all, although it might be just a temporary peace, I'll be able to buy some time rather than doing nothing. Don't expect anything though. By any chance, that something might occur. In this time of emergency where people should think about measures against the angel and Velda, there are people who did a really foolish action. Hinata issued her order to the three people while hiding her depressed and desperate mind. But, Hinata-sama. Nicholas tries to stop Hinata with uneasy expression, but don't worry. I don't intend to die. I'll struggle as far as I can to buy you all time. No matter how ungraceful I'll be, I won't give up. Leaving behind those words, Hinata begins to walk. To stands in front of Reiner, sacrificing her body to buy time. Nicholas and co finished putting up barriers in a rush as Hinata ordered and went outside the church. What they saw outside was too horrible. Hinata's clothes were tattered and torn, black bruises are visible. It seems she has received violent assault of punches and kicks. Her fingers also stamped on, it was obvious that they're broken. What stands out are her hands and feet. She was groveling in the ground as her tendons were cut. Not to mention holding a sword, it's unlikely that she can stand. Meanwhile, there's no wound on her face, it's what made Hinata's disastrous condition stand out. Hi Hinata-sama. Nicholas rushes over to Hinata. Ha ha ha, you're unable to live up to your claims. What a cheeky bastard, it's more suitable for you to rolling on the ground. With an irritating laugh, Reiner laughs loudly. You bastard. Wasn't it a fair and square one-on-one fight? To Leonard's words who shouting angry, Reiner laughed to the nose. A criminal has no human rights, you see. What, we're merciful. If she cried and begs for forgiveness, I'd think to delay the day of the death penalty a bit. Anyway, in the meantime I'll make you show your gratitude. Saying so, Reiner grins and laughs vulgarly. I can't endure it any longer. As I accepted, here and now you bastard will. Wait. Fritz. The match. Is still going. Fritz, who enraged and pulling out his sword, was stopped by Hinata, who is dying. And then, she cast for a small recovery magic and connect the cut tendons. Hinata stands up while staggering and somehow holding her sword up. Ha 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 ha. Do you still want to be cut? Are you a masochist? No matter how many times you try, you seem to not able to understand that you won't be able to win against me. Alrighty then, I shall cut you over and over again. With frenzy bloodshot eyes, Reiner shouted. Being driven by his sadistic pleasure, his reasoning starts flying. Normally, it won't be out of control, but, due to pleasures of being able to trample someone who's stronger than him, Reiner's mind was on the verge of abnormality. Even Reiner was aware that he was inferior to Hinata. No, it'd be correct that their differences were clearly pointed at the moment of the confrontation. Even though a lot of the power of Hinata's soul has gone, the ability etched to her body was still there. Even with only her swordsmanship, it surpassed Reiner's slightly. But Reiner whispered, "Don't resist if you don't want to be attacked by everyone all at once." In accordance with such unreasonable order, Hinata was doing exactly as she was told to do. It was just as Reiner planned. He makes sure that her face uninjured, such is his purpose to enjoy seeing her beautiful, well-featured face warped by pain. And then, after beating her up severely, he was waiting for another fun. Just by imagining it, Reiner felt his own blood boiling and brimming with power. Absolute superiority. Even if she contacts them now, it would take time for the Holy Knights to return. Even if they stop guiding the evacuation and return, they won't be able to return so easily. Besides, if he felt such presences, he would only need to give the attack order quickly. Reiner takes along with him 4,000 soldiers of the army and 300 knights of the Guard Knight Order. There was no chance for defeat. After I finish tormenting her who made a fool of me, I'll also make that woman named Shana. At the time Reiner swung his sword downward while having such delusion. Shing, such clear sound was heard, Reiner's sword was stopped. Hinata Ne-chan. I came to help. It was a hero with little light. Following behind him are 4 children. And small whispering voices begin to be heard from the people's mouths that saw the person who appeared in front of them. Hiro-sama. It's Hiro-sama. It's Hiro-sama. Hiro-sama has returned. It's Masayoki-sama. Masayoki-sama has returned. And so, it doesn't take a long time for it to be a grand chorus. Masayoki, Masayoki. Bathed inside the chorus, a young man stands in front of the crowd. Reiner with his bloodshot eyes glared at that person. That person stands in front of Reiner. That's right. That person for sure is the strongest man in Ingrassia Kingdom. He's Hiro Masayuki. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible.